fast.
Darren
How do
is
you feel
fine.
about high
She's
shoe?
I
dominating.
love that shit. That's why I'm grabbing some.
She's moving in on my territory.
It ain't even my candy. I'm
Get
like,
your
yeah,
own?
it's
Is that
true.
word?
They were a gift.
Get your own Christ
Me.
cookies, Deanna.
Christ
I don't
checks,
have
Christ
the
checks.
money to buy them.
I'm really curious. I want to know if Fael will eat
Regularly
one.
quote
Fael, would you like the
fucking
Ooh,
communion?
100 grand.
Right.
Okay,
But that is
nice.
pretty
Water and flour.
Yeah. There's
That
nothing really
expression,
air.
I wish it was really.
that expression you want from these guys.
You know, she's getting it.
One under your foot.
weird.
You know, she's getting it
I
stuck
had to sneeze, but I
under-
coughed instead.
I only bought one.
Oh.
No.
Those aren't the same
like
things at
behind
all.
you.
No, I know, it was very
The
strange.
candy was
It's
trapped.
stuck to the bottom of your foot.
Oh, it's stuck to your bottom of your
What's
foot.
in here? Oh my god.
I rolled away. She found it.
Taking.
Is it because you know it's stuck to the roof of her mouth?
I
That's
was
why she's
told I
doing
can
that?
have them all. So I'm going to. Really?
Like
You got a
Twizzlers?
paw on my
Twizzlers
foot.
and Red Vines are both great.
I love Red
only-
Vines. I'm
the
not a
only-
big fan of
The
Twizzlers.
only absolute constant is that black licorice is garbage.
I like black licorice.
I do like though that you can use a red vine as a straw and
I
be extra
know.
fat.
Rudy and I once drank rosé together with red wine straws.
Wow, that is-
That sounds hella gay. And that's great.
I know.
Yeah, it's frozen.
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 I'm just gonna leave this on the table.
I was like, that's actually like the foodies and sours.
John loves me.
Yeah, me too.
There's a bunch of
Frozen.
chocolate in there too. There's Bears
Looks like-
and Milky Way.
Whoa!
Sorry,
another
puppy.
member of the
Oh! You stick your foot up her butt?
Thank you.
No,
Yeah,
she tried to walk past and I put my foot up and she was happy about
Oh. No, Mom, I'm short. I've got short legs.
it. That's not okay, dude.
I feel you, dog.
Okay.
I feel you, dog.
So
Exhibit.
you guys get to
I flashed back to 2006.
the literal foot of this is like the ass of the Sierra Nevada.
Does anyone
This
want the
is-
York
this is-
peppermint patties?
They
Oh,
they-
wait. Never mind. I can't like this.
You know there's a rich neighborhood when they give you peppermint patties.
they're
She won't eat them and I can't have them, so.
they reach up
If anybody
and
wants-
loom
This is literally a bag of candy I will not touch.
your insignificant trail
Oh.
just ants on a bare countertop attempting to go up a fridge.
Mm.
And
What
There's
bear
peppers
owns
in
a
there.
house out here?
Huh?
What bear owns a house out here?
I totally
you
just
passed
thought
it.
you said what bear owns a hot pocket.
I
I was like,
Sounds like something I said
Cool
while I was streaming.
pocket.
POOH.
It's the one that has a backwards baseball cap.
Topical because I used a poo meme for today's post. It's hilarious. I'm very proud of it. You should check it out while you're not listening to me.
Congratulations, Internet. We're now banned in China.
Don't care.
I feel like that's an achievement.
Yeah, no,
Right?
exactly.
As long as we're still okay in Hong Kong, it's alright.
So we're in the ash of the Sierra Nevada, and
And Lou is trying to help you find the butt crack.
Oh yeah.
He actually oddly seems in high spirits. He's like, yeah, so we're gonna just follow this south, and you know when the ridge starts to dip, we're going in. And
He's a connoisseur.
yeah, well, you know, Lou's a Renaissance man, so to speak.
a connoisseur or a cockatoo?
Yes.
I was like, oh,
No, he's an ass man.
Especially when it comes to mountains.
And he's like the ridges.
stop eating her those.
I like stalagmites.
Uh,
And so, because stalactites hold tight, so mites are yeah. Anyway,
I'm just imagining him standing on top of the Sierra Nevada, and it's like the Sir Mix-a-Lot video, except it's not.
oh my God, Becky, look at those mountains.
That's
I
right.
mean,
They're just
the
so.
Great
Oh my
Tetons are called
God.
that because it literally means great days.
Yep.
those mountains.
Because our
dream-
ancestors were great.
They're just so rocky.
Look at them big rock tits.
Well, when you ain't seen a woman for 6 months, you're like, those look like tits. Those look like tits to you. Everything looks like tits to me.
Yet again, masturbated to our extracurriculars.
Yeah.
As we wrap it back around.
If you're gonna do anything, do it furiously.
That's all we do.
You get, you guys crawl along this you edge, if you will.
Oh.
And
Keep
finally, he comes riding back one evening, and he's like, "All right,
Let's say, is there anything in the bowl?
no, it's
Just
holding
throw
up
the
my
rocks.
book."
It's holding the book.
Check the reference.
Um,
Okay.
He's like, "Time to head west again."
As a note, since I ran out of soda at home, there are cans of Diet Coke if you guys want
And-
anything else.
Oh,
No!
there's one in the bar.
Oh no! I'm so sorry. It's not see what's behind there.
He's like, "I think we should keep going for the evening, and then camp for the day before we make the first push up, as the first couple miles are going to be rough, and I think we want all hands on deck available to make that first climb." And so everyone seems amenable to this. So you guys camp out right up against what
Was this a
could
different
be interpreted as a trail. and most of you probably are of the opinion that like things with wheels that hold hundreds of pounds of gear really shouldn't be going up this trail.
Possibly.
But you look north and you look south and you're like, yeah, that's the best we got. So the day goes by uneventfully. Wake up the next evening. You do your willpower, you do your blood, you feed if you need. Pretty much.
Wow, I'm missing a lot of blood.
I think we were all missing a lot of blood after the last fight. So
So
Yeah.
go ahead and do that cycle a couple nights to bring yourselves up a little.
yeah, because we're able to feed a little bit each day to bring ourselves
What's
back
the
up.
little bit that we
Go ahead and roll a d10. Go ahead and roll a d10 plus 3.
Aw, I got a 1. That's it.
It's 9.
That shit was a sloppy eater.
I'm all popped up.
6.
And that's how much you get back.
Over
And this is
several-
you may or may not have overfed or underfed the last couple of days, but all the humans are back to normal, and that's kind of where you're at.
Okay.
And then
Oh, does that mean I get rid of all my bruising and hurting and
yes, you all the bruising, all the bashing and lethal damage is healed, but your aggro still requires
5 a pop
5 a pop
per night.
per night.
You only had 1 in the first place.
So
Yeah,
I'm still sitting with
mine's
that bruised. I still have a knife shining around the side of my head. But
okay, well I'm down 5. So I'm finally no more aggro.
actually, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
And then, Lou hops off of his horse. What's her name? Penelope? What did I name her?
That old ass horse.
Did I give her a name?
I think it was Penelope.
I want to say it was Penelope. That sounds.
Megan, what's Delia's last name?
Eglantine?
No, she's Eglantine.
No, Delia, I don't think we ever gave her a last
No,
name.
you gave her last name because I braided her hair.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did. I forget.
This was
Bellis.
a D.
Fellas.
No,
Oh, that's
that's
yours.
That's my
Eglantine.
last
It's
name.
still your name.
No, it was
Oh,
something super
my
Frenchy
God.
Both
like.
first and last.
It was with a D.
Yeah, it was like do something. I may or may not have written it
Hold on.
down.
Yeah, same.
I have something written down, but
actually
I
did not
suddenly
write that
can't
down.
pronounce it. And I'm pretty sure I just spelled it phonetically.
What does it look like? on you?
Demorie.
Some wire.
Oh, Du Maurier.
Morie.
Yeah, so it would be D-U
Is Demir she ain't.
and then M-A-U-R-I-E-R.
Oh my god, why does my hand not work?
D-U-M.
D-U-M.
So it's D-U and then a capital M.
Got that.
A-U-R-I-E-R. Du Maurier.
Yeah, like I said, I spelled it phonetically.
We should get some of that Cheeto dust on there. Make sure
Oh,
it's
yeah.
properly christened.
There you go.
Look at mine. It's good about like
Yeah.
half a cup of fucking gravy in there.
Yeah.
It looks like it was from when the game first came out.
Yep. Also lost for us.
So wait, is it like distressed?
Probably
Yes, it's
It's
stress.
vintage.
Pre-wash.
stress.
Yeah. Proper Nosferatu, probably dragged into the gutter a couple times.
Can we eat that whole thing?
So yeah, he's off of
That's a treat,
Penelope,
right?
and Penelope's actually sort of like starting up the trail without him, without anyone else, just sort of like trudging along up this path, and he starts organizing the order of things, and a few people have done mountain crossings before back east, but not on this scale, so it's sort of a weird learning curve. Y'all get to make 3. You can either use perception or wits, and animal ken or survival rolls.
Does this count as intuition?
Yes.
Difficulty.
Difficulty 7.
Those fun thing counts.
No. You're gonna make 3 of these.
Oh, sorry, I lost what the difficulty was.
7.
Okay, sorry.
Are we adding them all together? Or we're in 3 separate ones?
I would like 3 separate ones.
Okay.
Because you're rolling for yourself and 2 other humans.
Okay.
So 1, 1, and 1. Alright.
So I got 3.
That's the first roll, have those 2 successes. Holy shit.
Wow.
Anybody else?
Oh, those are really cute. I was like, why has this flesh tone?
One.
Out of all 3?
Yeah.
Alright.
To make it.
3 successes on summer.
I got 3, 5, and 2.
Excellent.
Kind of awful.
I got 3, 6, and 2.
Excellent.
2, 3, 1.
Alright. And what was your assignment?
I botched, and then a 1, and then a 6.
Okay. So, as you guys push up this hill, this mountain, you break 2 axles and one of the ox's ankles snaps. It's a compound fracture. It's gross. Oh, who's hungry?
I mean, I'm 5 down.
I'm also 5 down.
I'm at half my blood pool, but that still means 10. So
Okay.
I'm fine.
So the 3 of you need to make me self-control / instinct rolls. Difficulty 6.
Okay. I'm full.
Oh,
I just failed.
I botched.
Difficulty 6?
oh, that ox.
Yeah.
Not spend a willpower point.
I mean, you can.
To bring it to 0.
Fair.
I'm gonna bring his willpower to range 0.
I
Okay.
think that game's still a.
I'm
So
not
for-
ready to frenzy yet
Okay.
because I've been so close this
No,
whole
that's fine.
time.
If you hadn't, I would have had a roll to not make the rest of the party go ooh. But now they're just like, oh, as you 2 do descend upon the ox together. So go ahead and roll a d10 and -3.
3.
I got 5.
Well, I got 6.
It's 2.
You get that many more blood points.
Yay!
But now you're down an ox.
All right, Cookie, cut it up.
All right. So now, no, because you guys tore it apart.
Okay. Even so, you drained all the blood out. It would be dry as hell.
Make jerky out of it.
I feel like I probably
I
got
mean, we
most of
helped
it
it.
on myself. Instead of
We
eating.
you're
helped
not-
it become jerky
If
quite
you're not
quickly.
going to do anything with the bones, you can pile some in the back of my cart.
I can probably air dry some of it.
I'm working on a popsicle, but I don't have enough tendons, so that's going to take a while.
I was just talking about harpsichord today.
It's the trench coat of it's to music as the trench coat is to style.
I don't have the proper brass stuff around for the screen trumpet yet, so but that's coming.
That's coming.
Just see the a little
I see.
tongue
I need to get
coming out of the mouth.
Needs to have a tongue.
It's like an episode of Animania.
Yeah.
They would blow really hard in the trumpet in their mouth.
Needs a little uvula.
Yeah.
All right. We have fun here.
Does
Um,
dealing
Is that
with
what this
a
is?
retainer at this point? Or a turd or what would
As a retainer, yes.
Yeah.
Because backgrounds are game through role play and
Yep.
Ah,
She helped you murder before. So
yeah,
Yeah,
she's
okay.
helped you. Yes. Not only is
She's
she
helped you
not only is she
bury the
is she an
bodies.
accessory, she's a retainer. So
form and function?
I need 2 people to make Dex or Strength plus Survival or Drive to help with the 2 broken axles. And I need someone else to make
What's the
a
difficulty?
8 because you're doing it on an incline. And I need someone else to do a Charisma plus Animal Ken
No, I can do that.
to get someone to, well, you're, okay, if you're doing it, it's at a higher difficulty because someone needs to put a new oxen where this other oxen was processed.
Does sweet talk count?
No, I don't know if you speak oxen.
I got 3 to help
Yeah, I
with
can
the
help.
axles.
Excellent, so that's 1 axle
I am
3 as
slowly
well.
enjoying
for
myself.
the axle. Alright, so you guys get those axles cracked out.
Difficulty?
For you, 8.
Still is very handy.
And then Bill and I high five and the kids are Top Gun movie.
Nice.
Do you
For
then
more
wait,
muscle than
Do you then take your shirts off
coercion.
and play volleyball?
You have
And
to,
the
you have to
snow.
loosen space just a little bit to help get this
Some of the
ox
oxen skin
where it
just
needs
make
to
a
be.
ball.
Yeah.
And but you
Yeah,
managed
I
to
made
get
this
it
for you. I
hooked back
tossed it
up.
out to you. It's still got eyes.
Look.
And so
Look, Box, if you don't move, you'll dance.
I stopped petting her and she's not. Okay, alright, I guess this is what I'm doing for the rest of the night.
It's your life now.
but you all start to realize that it has been a long night. And it is close to sunrise. But you come up onto a more level area and Penelope is like standing guard at the crest of where you guys come up. And there's just enough of a clearing at the top of that for the train to reassemble itself. And it's actually sort of a lovely image of this horse on the edge of this precipice with the landscape out stretching east and the stars and the moon shining down on it all. And with just the faintest hint of light from the at the edge of the curve of the world. And up trudges Lou and sort of just rests his arm on the pommel of Penelope, who nips at his cloak, at his coat, and he looks back down at the trail and the splotches of blood and the couple discarded axles, and he's like, "Perfect." And Penelope blows a snort of air, and he's like, "I know, right? All right, okay then. I'm gonna turn in for the night. Day, I don't know what it is anymore." And the camp has started to assemble itself at the top of this ridge, and
Oh, there's where I wrote it down.
you survived your first push
It's looking
up
the wrong place.
the Sierra Nevadas. Day goes by uneventfully. Next night comes. Down a blood, up a will. Is there a feeding rotation, or who still needs to do so?
I got my own people.
I mean,
I got
yeah.
4.
Feels good.
I need 4.
And I've got 3 people, so I'm good.
So you can probably get 2 without any trouble. Who is it tonight?
Oh, tonight is
Who's eating? Oh, she knows how to control herself now?
She's
Okay.
the most disciplined of the 4.
I don't know. The change in the scenery is fairly stark. You've been seeing this craggy out wasteland for days. Just inhospitableness behind you. Like you literally turn around and you're like, there it is. And then you turn back around and you're like, lush forest, untouched, unspoiled. And then just more of that on top of it. And yeah, the train's already ready to move and sort of starting to trundle along as you guys wake up. Everyone takes their own turns at the lead, that sort of thing. And
Oh my god. Cool. Just rest my foot on you, I guess.
another evening goes by uneventfully.
Oh, I caught you doing something.
Now that it's more gradual, there's less need to be especially watchful on the more difficult parts of this, and so the train is actually able to continue through parts of the day as well. So you guys down, you guys up. It's taking longer than expected, as this particular trail isn't well worn. So there's some trees to navigate through and bush to whack.
Yeah.
Tasha does not lack any bushes.
And eventually, after a few more nights, you guys make it through the Kingsbury Grade up to Lakeside, as you guys crest over another ridge. Out before you is a basin, and below it there's this beautiful, bright blue lake that stretches out. And you actually notice a pocket of smoke wafting up through the trees near the coastline of this expanse. And for those who might not have a clue on this, it's explained pretty quick through the train that this is Lake Tahoe, and the Washoe who called this area home aren't as prevalent as they used to be, as a lot of trappers and other travelers have come through and started to make it basically their stomping grounds to trade into California, off onto ships, or farther north, or making the trek back through the Badlands back east to ship stuff out.
How cold is that water?
Right now, decently cold. It's the chill in the air has started,
Cool.
but you're not quite there yet as you're coming down the basin into this lake area.
I'm like, I want to see the water. Can you see the water? I want to go to the water right now. Can I go? Can I go? Can I go?
We'll get there in a bit.
But what about now? I can run faster than this wagon.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They start running around, just being like stir crazy.
Just wait, the wagon will catch. I'll get separated.
You guys have one more sunup before you hit the coastline, or rather, you guys would hit the coastline while after the sun comes up. So that's agreed upon that can happen, and it is particularly cold.
Okay.
There is a definite chill, as it is later in the season. So you guys are down for another night, for another day, and then up for another night. And by that time, you guys, the train has made a proper camp on the coast of Tahoe.
So beautiful.
There is a
You see where the camp is. You see there's a Tesla park there with skis on top.
yeah. Kind of actually, you guys. As you guys,
Run to kill it.
Right.
as you guys get up for the
There
night,
was some weird time shit recently, so.
word gets around. You guys notice some new. Everyone who's in this train has every inch of it memorized. Like everyone knows whose bag, whose box, whose crate, what it has in it, how much of. Like everyone knows everything by heart. You wake up the next night and there are new things in the camp. New bags, new boxes, a new shirt, a new scarf, right? There are a bunch of camps that have gathered on the southern shore, and it's being referred to as Lakeside. As apparently word got around that before the snows hit in earnest, there would be a gathering of whoever wanted to come in to do a last trade for the winter. Kind of a Thanksgiving-y sort of thing for the region. And that's why there's the several smoke trails, as those are actually like communal fires to let people know where everyone's gathering. And as a result, some of the crew have gone into town, done a little trade, done a little barter, and that's why there's the new things in the camp. And no one wanted to commit to moving the camp over until the leads of the party were presented with the information. So yeah, Lou's there as everyone gets up and sort of has their breakfast.
Bring me all the eggs and bacon that you have.
Now, son. And yeah, so as you guys are getting your last nibbles in for the start of the night, yeah, he's like, all right, yeah. So apparently there's a little hamlet assembling a couple miles down the trail. Do we want to become part of it or not? Or what's the idea? Or what are the
Are there
feelings?
more Mormons?
None that I was aware of. None that I
And you
noticed.
think we should at least go and see if we can replenish some supplies for these people?
I believe also the decisions.
He double takes that statement. That is one of the most lucid statements he's ever heard out of me.
Most lucid
I'm
statement
like
you've ever heard from that face.
I am definitely dressed more ladylike at this time because Eliza.
Yeah, he sort of takes note. He's like, excellent idea.
I believe most of the decisions to you. Also, if someone could accompany Bertram, I believe he's going a little. Well, he seemed to have named two of his feet. Not the ones on his actual legs, but the other, two of the feet inside of his box. And I think there are some sort of family now. I don't understand it entirely. He still only
Also,
says,
the new vocabulary has been very concerning.
Yeah, it's very strange. At some point, he started just saying the word German all the time, and I don't really understand that either.
What do you want us to do with him?
Just, I want him to.
Does he need to go for a walk?
Yes, something to that effect. But I feel that.
Who wants to walk the birch tree?
Eliza's like, of course.
I got worried for a second we were going to ask for more family members, because I'm not into that.
I want him to have a little bit more exposure outside of the group of us. He's a bit crazy. Daryl will do whatever Daryl.
As long as he's looking you straight
Yeah, straight on.
Yeah, I haven't fixed that yet.
Yeah, that was about
I've had other things to spend my blood on, namely fixing myself.
I imagine the image panned like Daryl's in the window like this.
No, he has the right angle.
But I, as far as my cart is, I'm
Somewhere
fully
on the other-
stuck to this thing.
Somewhere on the other side of the camp, Chet's like, if he wanted the Bertram, he knew he was going to have to walk it. That's how it always go. You end up picking up after it. Just like yanking.
Is Chet like gold now? now? Is that a fully done deal?
No, Chet was able to recover as there was a few days of not trouble,
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
and the donation of blood helped him stabilize.
So that
So
was
he
just
was
He was just a little
Going.
keen on me for a minute.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was pretty good
And that's where the tea party came
at the
from.
tea party.
right.
And he's back to his old self now without additional
Effects.
prompting. Yeah.
The tea party that pans out and plays the ending theme song of the credits starting roll.
That was the end of like the second season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Pip, Patricia has all but said that she wishes to, that she would like you to be her sire.
My goodness.
Oh!
It has not been explicitly said. It has not explicitly come up in conversation, but it is.
Heavily implied.
It's like y'all gonna fuck or what? Like,
Seriously
just
though,
come
like
on.
us players are like, this is a trap, man.
Yeah.
This is a freaking trap.
That's very much not how that works.
I can speak from experience. Don't do it.
The last time somebody tried to
Yeah.
turn somebody, it went terribly
I'm-
wrong.
Well, I can't
I'm
make
using
that
that-
decision on
I'm
my
using
own.
that
unless
as
that's
the metaphor for how obvious this is. That,
Yeah.
like,
It
Yeah.
created problems that
Yes.
no amount of hope.
but you are keenly aware
Yeah.
that your blood in her system has prompted this, and it's real nice. Like the Chloe thing that's hilarious, and the Pierre, the Jean-Pierre, he's just the puppy you always wanted. But
Like this one.
Patricia, I
Because
feel
I
like
picked Patricia.
yeah, and I feel like you would have liked this to have been an honest turn for Patricia,
Yeah.
but it's not. Or at least it's tainted.
Yeah.
Bam, bam.
Thank you.
So,
Wow.
Hello.
so you could always
Eight.
keep your promise to wean her off once you guys get to a safe place and see if perhaps it continues. But it's the less than savory side of the situation has presented itself.
Yeah.
So there's something to consider.
Depends on how many dots in humanity you have. Whatever.
She's decent.
I have a decent chunk of humanity.
Okay.
We're not all friends.
Entirely true.
So,
I think I'm opposite of Fred in many ways.
I'm very much more concerned with manners than with whether or not
That still gets her though. Just-
I mean, yeah, that's totally
no,
true.
that's
but-
interesting where that Venn diagram is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it
is.
matters. But
Yeah.
I'm for wholesale wanton slaughter of things and puppies. Like I like puppies, but not.
But puppy's also helping the slaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Make the puppy stronger so they can chew through. Yeah.
So Lou is like, all right, so there's a couple of votes for I don't care. Any other strong opinions, or because I'm
How
thinking
many people are in this establishment?
a good dozen plus.
I'm good to go. I want to go there.
Okay.
I think it will do us some good.
I would also like to go and see what they have.
And
if-
trinkets.
And if the winter hits sooner than later, other people will come in and have to stay. So it'll become a community at least for till the fall.
If nothing else, it'll be a good spot to sort of wait it out, see what the trends are, and whether we risk going further or whether we wait until the thaw.
If everything goes to plan, we can restock a bit, 2 days most to rest up, and then head down the trail towards Auburn, I believe.
Yeah.
Because Auburn's like right down that trail. Yeah, right. So that's what we're going to shoot for, but just in case we have a contingency with this. Excellent. He nudges. Who's the second in command?
That's a thing.
Derby. Joseph? Not
Oh.
Joe?
Joseph, not Joe, maybe?
Right? That sounds right.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph, not Joe,
We acquired a dairy.
is sort of the
Yeah.
day guy, the day
Daryl.
man, as opposed to the night man. And
Yes.
he's like, yeah, pass the word. We're gonna we're gonna move into camp. We thought we might have had someone or something, so we quarantined ourselves. But now that we're pretty sure after day or two we're not, that's the story we're going with. Okay, cool. You know, some of us are still sick with some other things, which is why we keep odd hours. Wink. But nothing contagious. Yeah, so we're good.
The wink scene.
The wink scene? Oh, from JoJo. Oh, okay, yeah. It's cute. Don't worry about it.
Oh, from sorry, you say JoJo? I'm thinking of something entirely different.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, no.
or JoJo's Bizarre Circus.
Not JoJo, got it.
Yeah, and so they everyone packs up and heads further down the coastline, and yeah, there's a nice little tent town with something that resembles what will be a building shortly, and yeah, there's a pole with a piece of canvas on it that has Lakeside painted onto it in tar, and you guys roll in and make a camp circle out of the wagons, and yeah, you are free to move about South Lake Tahoe. There is some hustle and bustle. There's 3 large bonfires that sort of triangulate the community.
Is there a very obvious saloon tent?
Not particularly, but there are games to be had if you are going to carouse.
Oh yes.
There's carousing tables.
Yes.
As we're setting up our carts and everything, I have Daryl and Bertram put up a couple things off the side of the cart and a sign that I have painted.
Oh no.
That,
Are you selling bone stuff?
No. I'm just putting up a sign that says that offering up services as a sawbones for price.
Yeah, well, that's
Emphasis on the sawing of bones, but still.
Yeah, tanning, processing, taxing.
Oh no, I mean this. Well, yeah. I also meant as like medical services.
No, it's probably
Or-
I only saw the bones. I can almost put them back.
I just put like a barber's sign because at this time.
medical service.
If you get hit by a car,
Oh my god, that's fantastic! I'll make you a part of that
Have you ever
car.
recently been in an accident?
right? You have an extra arm that you don't know what to do with.
I can put it to work today.
I'll buy that off you.
So,
Wow.
I'll buy that off you. Sue me and give you all the money.
So basically, I'm going anywhere you go and looking around to see if there's any
Well,
hot young men around.
Abe
Because I got a roving eye. I'm a young lady looking.
Abe is not built for carousing.
Oh, I would never do that.
Surely not.
I would just look.
I'm just saying I can't get in town because I'm gonna spook everybody.
He says before you leave, he says, I could, if you want to, I could make you a mask of sorts, something that
It's fine.
do you want Daryl?
Yeah, I can
doing this.
make you a copy of Daryl's face. It's
Well,
good
good thing
for
you're
myself.
gonna
Video
scare
is
off
like-
all the hot
Or
young
Daryl's
men.
actual face.
And how
Daryl,
much
keep that face.
Nosferatu versus
He's like
It's asymmetrical.
he's like a 7 now.
Okay.
You're like
You're working the front
he's
wheel.
all right. He's all right.
not intentionally, but I mean it's just the way it's going.
As an individual, he's not attractive, but he's not ugly anymore. And
Alright,
yeah,
so
the
then he
Nosferatu has solidly kicked out.
Okay,
No,
so then
He's
you
just
can
not pretty.
yeah, yeah.
It's because we just spent months in close quarters that you think this.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just
it's,
sort of
it's
like-
an exposure. It was a mere exposure effect.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna basically be like, if you need to go and do things about town, please feel free, and I give him a bit of money.
Is your kobold?
He thanks you. He thanks you courteously,
Okay.
and
So
and he's like, "Is there a certain time you'd like me back, or just want to make sure I'm properly at your service?"
I know you want to just 1 second.
Yes, Miss Granger.
So it's evening because we're awake. I was like, be come check in, you know, and if you around dawn and see if the camp needs you for anything, and if not, you're free to go wander about and then come check back in again at dusk.
Very well, Miss Allen, thank you. And nod, and he walks out of camp, and you're like, such a good lad.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes.
So friend of mine that I use on occasion to have things commissioned.
As hilarious as it is you
Yeah, I
doing
know, I
that,
stopped.
the mic
So-
can't hear you, so.
So a friend of mine that I every now and then commission because I'm like, I could use a little something.
God.
I asked him
You ready
like
for more kobold?
Yes, I am.
I asked him like last year for one of Phaley's when we were playing real Phaley's,
Uh-huh.
not new Phaley's, and so and he's just like, I'll get around to it, I'll get around to it, I'll get around to it, blah blah blah. And so he's like, hey, I'm getting around to it, but it's been so long. Is there anything else you'd like me to add?
Fucking kobold who looks like he got peed on. Yes.
So it's just a sketch, no colors.
Ah.
And so it's gonna be Phaley's with one kobold on the hip and like 3 or 4 other feet, one like peeking around her legs. And I'm just like,
That's it. She's got her. Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Phaley's. So sometime in the next 6 months, I will have a picture of Phaley's.
By the by, because of y'all, I have to rewrite my plans for the game because I didn't want to have to. I wasn't going to do another chicken box.
You.
I mean, I was going to, but there.
Fucking called it. And you know what?
I'm still.
I was ready to play that game.
I'm still going to use
Even
that
though
character.
I totally called it out, I was ready to play it. I was like, let's do it. I'm still going to use that character. Just speed bagging your balls. Just okay, let's play with them.
I'm still going to use that character at some point or another. Just not for this particular lore.
Yeah, because all three of us were like, it's either a
Chicken in a box,
who's got magical powers, or it's
Or
like
it's-
a little boy,
or it's a
that's
dead
being-
comrade who's not actually dead that we're gonna have to take. Yeah, because we
Yeah,
were
we're
like,
like, it's a person.
it's either Outlaw Star or it's Serenity. We know how this shit goes.
So on Tuesday we were talking about what happened in game, and we were talking about like, oh, in the boat, because we spent the 3,000 to like
Behind your chair.
make private quarters, and I was like, she'd make the nursery for the kobolds. Oh, I see. Got it.
Okay.
And so I was like, it'd be funny that like, you know, she makes the little nursery for the kobolds and she has her own bedroom, and then Whimsy scuttles in and does the like, I want to sleep with you, and she's like, just for the night. And so she cuddles down with Whimsy, and in the morning she wakes up and every fucking one of them is all over her. Like,
But it's her favorite thing in the world, and she can never tell anyone.
She wakes up first, and for a second she's just like, ah. All right, get up, everybody, get up, get out of bed.
You're not even supposed to be in here.
It's that very what's the flute song with the something of dying morning, and then partway through it's just a record scratch.
Yeah.
And then it's heavy metal, and she's like, "We got shit to do, boys." Get up.
There's an episode of My Romance from the Prison.
Yes. Deep cuts right there.
Cowboys and roommates.
Oh man, I hadn't even thought about that show in forever. I love that show. I have a gun that shoots stars at people.
Somebody returned a DVD of Silverhawks the other
Oh
day.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh my god, this is on DVD.
What a dusty little thing.
It's 2 discs. The 2-disc set of Silverhawks.
Thing.
Okay. Like 1 or 2.
Yes, I wrote things and they're useful. Oh, you should know things. All right, here, hold on. Give me Russ. Give me Russ real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So,
Big Milky
so you're gonna go do your thing. So go ahead and roll me. So are you gonna feed? Or are you gonna gamble? Or are you gonna both?
I don't really need to feed. I mean, I might if it straits me. But no, she's mostly here for she's walking with her cards. She's so ready.
All right. So
It's been a minute.
that's subterfuge and manipulation, right?
And none of the other people in camp.
Yeah,
Is that what you usually run on that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, first you need to drum up some business. So that's going to be charisma plus empathy, subterfuge, or expression. What do you think you would use to get a couple games together?
I mean,
Yep.
Well, my specialty in manipulation is being persuasive. So would I use manipulation instead of charisma, or?
You can use that if you want. Yeah, because this is however you normally run your game. This is how you would run it.
Why is my worst handwriting? I don't know what this is.
Oh, your specialty in performance?
I don't have a specialty in performance. That was just me crossing out acting to write performance so that I knew what I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
I'm amused that both John and I have a snake laugh.
I might need you to pick me up something from to see because you're gonna be
Yeah,
going before I go.
Oh.
You're driving,
So-
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish it didn't sound like an eagle or a raven or
Yeah.
whatever you wanted to be.
What would be the difficulty again?
Not too difficult. This is 6.
That's great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But yes, we do.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about
5 to get.
And it hits the same time every time.
that.
You're like, good evening, boys.
That's the very
Might I
required.
interest any of you in the game cards?
Yeah, you get a couple games together out of that.
3 CDs. They're onesies. They made a Haunted Mansion version.
Okay, I'm like,
No, I don't want this one, but I don't know if they're available at Disneyland yet.
okay,
so
I
if
really
they're
question your. She doesn't want these. She showed me though. I'm like,
She sort of pulled
I
back.
don't know if I want to support this.
You're my friend.
I am, but
Rude.
even friends need to be able to say, "Hey, I'm worried about you."
Yes. Okay. That also makes perfect sense.
She turned into a raven.
And a bear, but we had a different relationship with the bear.
Well, I meant in Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
'Cause when she was Robina.
No,
I
she
know,
was. Yeah,
but
she was straight up
I mean-
turning into a raven.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it's
Yep.
still questionable fashion.
Very
But
specific
this
reasons
one
to
I like.
absolutely not turn into a wolf.
Okay. It's less bad.
I'm just saying, it's still questionable fashion.
It is questionable, but
But I don't care and want it.
it's not nearly as bad as that polka dot deal.
I guess I'll just send it to you and then. Okay. How much it is.
Cool. So you get a couple games together. Go ahead and roll that manipulation plus subterfuge
Ooh,
to
look at this
play
Vanessa
them
doll.
cards.
Yeah.
Difficulty.
Difficulty 7.
Those extra joints
Three.
elbows make it uncomfortable.
3. Things go pretty normal, but there's not a lot of money. Because there's not a lot of money. You feel like if you started doing bets for like things, you'd have a little better luck.
Could be more
But as far as currency, not a lot of people. They're not willing to put in a lot.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, Bill isn't really in it for the money.
Do it for spare axles.
Bill is in it for the gambling.
you could use that.
Spare
So,
axles.
Whatever
bullets,
people have on hand that they would like to
Oxen.
bet,
oxen.
put it in the pot.
Someone does actually have a kit, like they have a valise in the back of their cart, and they pull out and it's got chips and a almost new set of cards, and he's like I just like to play like, shall we?
All right.
Your dead heart goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like whoa, what we're detecting.
As a matter of fact, take me self-control.
I was about to say, I was waiting for it too. I was like, oh.
You-
Just straight self-control.
Here it comes.
Difficulty 8.
1.
Yeah, he slides over one of the chips, and you hold it up, and that weight is good, and the edges are crisp, and you hold it up and take a look at it, and it's got a nice feminine silhouette on it, and you're like, ah, yeah, let's play.
Your dog over here is a total slut for
So she's not my dog.
Oh, okay.
She's been,
Her niece's
she's
dog.
been moving between the two of us.
Yeah, because she knows I don't care.
She's
I like the dog. She just barks at my cat,
Oh yeah, that makes
so
sense.
I'm.
Right.
She's a chunk.
And she eats Sasha's food, so I've had to move Sasha's food on top of my desk.
She's actually lost a bunch of weight.
Sasha?
No,
Oh, no.
well, maybe Sasha.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, but no,
The
Kyle.
dog has because I don't let people feed her scraps under the table.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You can do it. You get a feeder like the one we got, where you put a. I don't know. Is Sasha chipped?
She is, but the big thing about that is she eats so little that she'd go and it would release some, and she'd eat like 2 or 3 pieces, and then it would just be sitting there the rest of it.
What
No, no,
what
it's,
we have?
Oh, it like opens up, and then as she walks away, it shuts back.
Mhm.
I might have to do that.
It works. It worked really well when we had the
When
to
we
do
were-
with other pets.
When we were living with, because DB would come in and eat all her food.
Yeah.
And I know he was the one who was doing it. She doesn't eat that fast.
Yeah. And yeah.
So I might have to look at that. But that's one more fucking contraption.
That's true. But
For my
because if she's chipped, you can sync it to the chip.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
what's
it's
great.
not. It comes with little like tags that you can put like on her collar to
Yeah.
sync it to. But if they're chipped, then you just program the chip in. So as soon as they stick their head in, it opens up. And then when they walk away, it closes.
Yeah.
That's
Might have to do
cool.
that.
Technology, yay!
Right?
Can't wait till we get chipped.
I know there was a company out there that was super doing it.
Yeah,
and
they
I'm
were
like, "That's
they were
creepy
like
as fuck."
giving like extra bonus offers for doing that
Yeah.
to people who would do it. Yeah.
It's like, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna let you chip me. This is weird. Also, what if I want to quit? What are you gonna do then?
Yeah.
Now it's just
Deactivate
killing
your
me.
chip.
You just cut it out.
Yeah.
There was
just go in with a scalpel and
You've seen it in Futurama.
You
Something
pull it
like
out
that.
of your nose, like in Total Recall. Like a fucking towel around your head. Like you're a
A
racial
couple generations
stereotype.
from now, they'll think it's normal, and we'll be those old people going, nah!
Look, yeah, we those old
I
people.
don't trust your chip technology.
you might want to find me covers.
That's how you get scammed.
Grandpa, all you gotta do is access the web net and.
Don't talk your teddy talk to me.
I remember we had to use a phone to dial into the internet.
Back in my day.
Grandpa, they don't even call it the internet anymore.
It's just constantly around you. You're like
That's how we
AR,
roll.
like internet everywhere.
That's right.
Aside from that one company, there was some guy that was like, he was doing like different like body modification stuff, and he actually did his own like surgical on himself kind of thing. And I was like,
On
oh, that's
himself.
extreme.
That gets
There was
a little weird.
There was a lady who was making she was making jewelry that was supposed to it squicks me out even, but it's like it was jewelry that was supposed to like hook into one of your arteries or your vein or something. So it would blood would go through it and it would like turn a wheel on the inside of it, and then it would it just goes through.
Holy shit.
Which that's hardcore, but also super fucking dangerous. And don't ever do that because your blood will just coagulate in there and then you'll die.
And you'll slip your fucking jewelry and start gushing blood all over the place.
It was ridiculous.
Okay, so Russ and Russ's wife are aware of these things in the area.
Okay.
Because you've lived there. You know these people. You're chill with these people.
Whoa, okay, interesting.
Yeah, and because you're astute, you have this info.
Okay.
You're it's never been expressly discussed, some of the more interesting stuff, but you're pretty sure they're aware because you're cool, more or less. It's not a conflict, so you guys just coexist.
Well, I act more like Russell acts more like a human than anything else.
Exactly. So yeah. All right. So, for the purposes of being in this camp, you have a temporary dot in resources.
Nice.
After this evening's festivities. Who else was going to go hunting? You two were going to try a turn?
Well,
no?
she will. I'm not.
I think Lisa was gonna go into.
This is not
She's cat.
big enough. I'll make the milk curdle.
Y'all going to do the old
But I can't do it by myself.
orphan trap?
Wait, can I walk
Sure.
Bertram? He could be my escort.
There you go.
Well, Bertram for you. Yeah. Sure. Who are you this evening?
Eliza.
And how would she feed?
How would she feel?
Excuse me, guys.
Wow.
Sandman, succubus.
Oh, not a succubus. Gosh.
The old orphan trick.
Probably just try to I think first of all it would have to probably be a girl or a woman because then it wouldn't be appropriate. And probably somebody that she would meet while on her errand and have a conversation with and just, small talk her way
Into her neck.
yeah.
Charisma plus empathy. Difficulty 7.
That's nothing. I will spend a willpower.
Yeah, you managed to get a very consolatory hug out of a woman washing clothes out by the lake, and yeah, you managed to get a bite into her. Do you want to take 1, 2, or 3?
One is all I need, really.
All right, then take that one.
Just a minute.
And yeah, she's left with an astounding sense of peace and love after consoling this poor little girl.
Don't you need love and peace?
Sorry.
Are you just looking at us like we're fucking crazy? You do not know where it's from.
No, I don't remember. No,
It's Trigun.
that's Trigun. Okay.
Smash.
I have not Trigun.
Oh.
You haven't?
So
Wow.
yeah, there's a few classics that I've never managed to.
It's a pretty great cowboy anime.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Outlaw Star. Trigun.
Wolfwood was my husband's for a long time.
There's Bundo.
It has
Ooh, how's Bundo?
good
You just not
soundtrack.
fuck with the guy with the mean saxophone.
Not jazzy, not as jazzy as Cowboy Bebop, but there's some good.
I forget what the
Slide
name of their
guitar.
neighborhood is called. So I thought it's like, no crap.
Yes.
I did manage to find the Smiling Senshi, the Grenadier, but that is not a good cowboy anime. It's just the fan service anime. It was delightful. All right.
In case I didn't make it clear, I'm using the doctor thing as a front so that I can feed without really having a problem.
Just bleed people.
I mean, turns out, if you cover their eyes for what you need, and then feed them under the auspices of doing some anesthesia, you don't exactly have consent, but we're vampires, so that's questionable from there.
Go ahead.
How many feet did I keep Bertram from taking? So did
All of them.
Okay, good.
Bertram's a mean good boy.
Go ahead and make me a manipulation plus medicine.
That's a lot of dice, so.
Yeah. Difficulty 5.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I don't think you're gonna have a problem seeing. There is a line.
Oh, yeah.
There's a small line because the closest thing they have to a doctor in camp is a gentleman who knows how to shave.
Does he also pull teeth?
So,
He has been known to do such.
that one. And that's
Not his
four
specialty.
successes on the
So
others.
he uses it.
Excellent. So how much blood do you need this evening?
Well, I mean, if I can, I need to get to full. I would go back up. I would need 10 points, but so if I can get that out of all the patients, spread out over all the patients, then I will. But if not, then
Roll a d10. Let me see what just fate will give you all for one.
Okay.
And then I have
7. That's fine.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do 7, and that you can pull a little. You kind of quote unquote eyeball it as you go through each patient, and that's what you kind of come out to before there's no one left. And
in this case, I'm doing absolutely no chicanery.
Yeah.
I'm not adding or subtracting anything extra to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm simply just
taking some effort.
fixing things as Fred in the last several weeks has gotten much since his incident has
Okay.
gotten a lot calmer and a lot less on the side of like he's still making a harpsichord out of bones and sinew, but he's not like
He's not taking it from living people so much?
he's not actively trying to be creepy to everybody. It's just like
Okay.
you know, he's
Alright.
he's become a lot more chill
Neat.
and a little more distant.
Oh, you actually now,
Mhm.
Fred now has 2 points in survival
Oh, interesting.
and an additional dot on his path.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I'm guessing you keep the stone suppressed when there are mortals about,
Yes.
because otherwise it just follows.
Oh yeah,
you.
no. I'm not letting that float around.
Because otherwise it just follows you around.
Yeah.
Like no extra effort. You know, like it wants to be near you,
Yeah.
and it wants you to both be outside. If you will it to be stationary in the box, what have you, it will.
Question.
It does,
Because if I've been pushing to be outside, I will have been using my party to sleep underground.
Mm-hmm.
Does it come with me?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's cool.
There is a strange shrub that marks your meld. If you don't think about it,
Oh, okay.
like others have observed this.
All right.
But if you,
Well, there's the Fred bush.
yeah,
It grows berries, but they blink.
yeah,
That's right.
yes.
It bears. You open it. It bears fruit. You open. It's like a pomegranate. You open it up, except for there's actual blood and just teeth.
I feel it became like a staple now on the trail. Like we know, like people just talk about it. It's like, yeah, no, go pick up those 2 barrels by Fred's bush over there.
It has also been noticed that when you earth meld and choose to obscure it, if the dirt's moved away at all, it appears as a root system, and the roots are as hard as the stone itself.
Whoa. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's strange.
How much XP do you have right now?
I don't have a lot left over. I don't think. Oh, what page is that on? This one. I currently only have 2 points of experience.
Okay, cool. So, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
All right.
that's fine.
Pitt, I thought I heard you also wanted to go get some feeding on.
I wanted to go see what trinkets were back in town.
Oh, absolutely.
I need not to go feed on others. I have my own stuff.
Okay, you're actually gonna visit the town.
Yeah.
The town. Cool. Yeah, you float on through the streets, as it were. Go ahead and make me a perception plus alertness, or if you want to use etiquette instead, feel free, because you are looking for shiny things.
High society?
No.
Yes. Out here, yes.
Oh, I have the bard's note on hygiene.
Difficulty?
6.
One.
Wah.
Well, I got one from high society, and I rolled a 7, but also a 1. So 1.
Okay. It's slim pickings. Like you just get that sense that like you weren't gonna find much, if anything at all. You're drawn to the plot that will soon be a building, and you find some gentlemen and a couple ladies out front of it, sort of discussing it. There's a little pavilion with workbenches and a table, and they seem to be by some lantern light going over some crude plans for it. And one of the ladies notices you and comes over and she's like, "Miss, I just wanted to say I love your dress."
Thank you so much. It's been so hard to keep it clean all this time.
I know. Thankfully, the lake is pristine, so it's easy to keep things going, but like just day to day, and if it's dry and the dust gets, it's the worst. And so like you two sort of have a little rapport. She introduces herself as
Herself?
yeah, let's see, she's let's see here. Hooters.
You like who is?
Yes. Lavina Lapham.
Wow.
All right. As Mrs. Lavina, Levinah, Lapham, Lapham. She goes, "Are you busy?
Oh no, I'm just about.
May I introduce you to my husband and our friends?"
Certainly.
Why do you always
Why
get
does
these
this
people?
I'm already like,
Time.
You come into the pavilion.
I'm gonna chance a quick.
Is anybody good?
Oh, a blink.
Yeah.
All right, burn that. Or is it blood points to? Is it a blood point to
Yes.
pop that?
Wait, what's happening? Sorry.
She's using her aspect. She's meeting people again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all
She's
like,
probably gonna hang out
"Please
with Mormons again.
come meet my family and blah blah blah. I'm like,
Yeah, we're all
"Oh."
related.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a little blink in the direction. Not a full on stare again. Just in case.
So you like
Learn my lesson.
so
Yeah.
you're ready for the photography flash.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, just the thing and nothing. It's
Okay.
good. These
Oh yes, yes, I love that.
these are all normal mortals.
Oh yeah.
Weird.
Wow.
You found the 5 of them in the entire world.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
So
thank goodness.
far out in
yes,
the wilderness.
you are
though.
introduced to Mr. William W. Lapham. He's the gentleman who started this project. This is going to be his like public house that he's going to have here at the lake. And they are friends with Mr. and Mrs. Taylor. So yeah, Alman M. Taylor is the gentleman, and his wife Regina. And that's all 4 of them that are there. Yeah, they were like, there's always sort of this weird bustle. They if you're not terribly forthcoming, they're more than willing to welcome you. They're like, yeah, we've been living here for a little bit, and then they found gold at Sutter's Mill, and like people have been coming through much more since then. But even before that, we noticed before winter, there's always this mad dash to gather supplies, and we, finally we were like, let's just have a Thanksgiving, like a post-harvest situation, get everyone together.
I'd have figured out Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do all the trading, and
I don't think Thanksgiving was actually a thing.
yeah. And William's like, yeah, it's great. It's just it gets so damn cold. So building the house, building the public house.
She's suddenly like, oh yes, it's so chilly.
Yeah.
But she also gives off a chill.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at how cold I
Yeah.
am.
Even almost on cue, like William gets a bit like, and he like tightens up the coat and whatever else,
Yeah.
and the hat just a bit more, and Alman is like, yeah, but it's so damn beautiful. Look at it. Pardon. Oh, beg your pardon.
Oh, that's
sorry.
quite alright. I've been traveling with them.
And like Regina, and they're like, traveling with who? Oh, you came in with the wagon train.
Yes.
Oh, are you guys gonna be moving on then?
That's the hope. I'm trying to meet my husband.
Oh, and William's like, fingers crossed. I don't want to see it. I don't even say it because then this puts this whole behind and.
Oh no, we'll make it.
No, absolutely. That's the spirit.
Charge my ass through the snow on foot if I have to.
I will.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend another winter in a tent. I'll be pardon. No, yeah, no. It's
Unladylike things.
It's just bloody terrible.
and like they're like, and Regina is like, so we guess you're not from Missouri.
No.
Ah.
But I do, secondly, come from Louisiana.
Oh, well, yeah, because if you came over through, how, like, do you mind? How are things out there, like, on the way through? Any news?
It's been so long. It's been so.
Lavina does the. It really is a rough trek. like doesn't quite touch because she doesn't know if that's okay or not.
Yeah.
But
Oh. When I left home, things were nice. Just out to do some errands for my husband, and then he went off to do his own errands, and now we're meeting in California.
and they're like, well, at least you're in California already.
Yes.
Russ,
Doesn't
Yes.
feel like it.
from your
Yeah.
tent with your wife,
This is not what I was told it would be.
Annie, you notice this too well-dressed woman who smells of predator is talking to Alman, to the Taylors and the Laphams, and it's intriguing. You're like, you know exactly. It just the smell's there.
What's this?
So if you choose to engage, you may.
Oh, yeah.
If not, there doesn't appear to be anything going on. Your spider senses aren't tingling at all.
That's right.
But
Yeah, no, he'll turn. He'll trundle on over.
what does Philippa see approach the crew?
So, surprisingly quietly, a man who is probably larger than most of the people you've ever seen, in the like 6'9", 6'10" range of height. And
Bertram sized.
yeah, he's definitely Bertram sized and bulky, dressed in furs, large beard, braided with a one of those, I don't know what they're called, the things that hold your like.
Oh, the rings?
Yeah.
The puff.
Yeah. He just kind of trundles on over, and he's looking kind of mean, and he walks over.
Yeah, I think Regina would go, oh, Russell!
Gina, is this here lady giving you some troubles?
Philippa does straighten. Like, posture is beyond at this moment. But there's definitely
just
like.
in the lizard brain, you're like, this man pillaged our country.
Yes!
And he, as he kind of stands over and kind of looms at you.
I
just
grip,
kinda-
I grip my parasol, almost like sword-like.
Yeah, and Regina goes, no. This is Mrs. Philippa Sterling,
Yes.
and she came in with the wagon train that came in, and she was just telling us all about news from the east.
He just kind of looks at you for a second, and then gives you one of these.
No, Jesus!
Oh. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't think that. I'm sorry.
I didn't even see
I'm so sorry.
I can't wait to replay this back later.
I'm sorry.
Well, a lot of things were happening at once because medicine time.
So
things.
how does
Very
Philippa
genuine.
react to the? Oh, sorry. So you bark.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So you
Thank
bark at Pip.
Yeah. I just. However, how does she react, real quick?
She doesn't blink.
So Lavinna squawks
So,
and swats you.
as soon as he gets a reaction, he's like, I'm sorry.
She's like, this is Russell, and he is a terror.
I'm sorry.
And I apologize.
I just like seeing how these city folk
Oh, lady.
are reacting. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I apologize.
Annie, I'm gonna tell Annie.
No. Oh, okay. Please don't tell me.
Yes.
I
You
don't
see
suppose
like
I've
this.
been referred to as city folk before.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What was your name again? I apologize.
This is Sterling.
Mrs. Sterling. My mistake. My name is Lazarus McDaniel. Lazarus Aaron McDaniel, if you want the whole Christian name.
Yes, Russ is what you would call the opposite of city folk, and has outbursts on occasion.
Oh, you're just sweet on me, aren't you?
Like freshly tanned hide.
I'm sorry, what was the last name of that person?
McDaniel.
Thank you.
And Almond and William are like teetering between giggles and whether or not to step in.
Yeah.
But it seems like Regina and Levina are doing well enough to reprimand and
But this proper fucking
and
English
you-
lady
and
is
you-
proper.
Yeah, he goes from like he's 6'10", but he kind of has the when these two ladies are like swatting at him with their fans and stuff. He has the demeanor of
Don't
somebody
do it.
much smaller. And I'm sorry, you know me. I just like playing with the new folks a little bit.
And they're like, go lift something. You know, where's Annie? Is she okay? Is she well enough to?
She's in the tent, but if you could bring her some tea in a few hours or so, I think it'd be okay. But she needs to be. She's having a little bit of an episode, so she's gonna.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Is there a problem?
Oh no, it's just.
Regina Livin let him because this is his wife.
Oh no, it's my wife. Annie is. She caught something a little while back. She's just not feeling too good at the moment, so she's just hanging out. But she's spending her time in the tent for right now. She'll come out and greet y'all later.
Alman looks like someone died. Like sort of like, yeah, it was a shame, you know, sort of like just quietly, and William's like nodding like, yeah, no, it should be fine, you know, he just came down with you. So there's obviously a differing of opinion.
I do come from where the tea travels from,
And
I happen to have
Levin and Regina are like,
quite a lot.
Understand.
He looks at you for a second. He sniffs the air. You know, I might be able to introduce you to Annie. I feel like I might not have a problem with her specific condition.
I'm sure I won't.
and they're like, of course, yeah. Oh, so you guys,
Mike, can you wear
the train is at the other side of the encampment, right?
Yes.
Maybe if you weren't busy,
I was like, I should be accompanied by someone.
Jean-Pierre,
Most
Chloe,
likely
Patricia.
Jean-Pierre. Because if it was Patricia with me, I would have, oh, this is my friend, you know. No, Jean-Pierre's probably on my heels.
Then there probably would have been, oh, is this your son?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Actually, I might have just adopted him as a nephew by this point to people, just to be like,
This is why.
yeah.
And they're like, perhaps if you're not busy, we could take some time, go to your camp, gather some tea that's new and interesting, and come on back and meet Annie.
Well, I'll just send Jean-Pierre to pick up a sampler.
And they're like, that sounds great, excellent. They're like, have you had any? Or when did you have dinner last? Or you know, are you hungry?
Oh, I'm full, thank you.
Okay, all right, whatever.
Chloe provided well for me.
Miss Taylor, or
My lady's maid.
yeah, Miss Taylor, Miss Taylor, right? It's
Yeah.
Ellen Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't have the wives because they didn't
Oh, okay.
exist until 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
Miss
go ahead
Taylor,
and fill that in if you want.
yes, Miss Taylor, if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna head back to the tent. If you wouldn't mind bringing a couple, maybe like a rasher of bacon and a couple of, it's like, you have any of that pie? Were you able to get the ovens going?
Well, if you promise to stop barking at our new friends,
I will,
we
I
might
promise.
have something.
I'll be polite.
Especially the fancy ones.
I promise I'll be on my best behavior. Yeah.
You know that pie's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sterling, if you want to talk later in the tent, mine's the one with the bear skin over the.
It's
over the
pretty
flat
distinct.
Yes.
It has all the markings of good, clean country living.
I see.
It all it needs is a bit more proper dyed cloth, but otherwise looks like a pretty serviceable hunting situation, if not a little more rustic than you're accustomed to. But yeah, so Russ saunters back off to the tent while Mrs. Taylor is like, I'm gonna go get some pie for Mr. McDonald.
So kind.
And she's like, but I want to hear everything when we get back because I don't think Lavina will mind hearing it all again.
Of course.
Oh, lovely. No. And so yeah, Lavina's just like, so who else is in the train? You know, what's the name of the party? But you know, just trying to get sort of. They want all the.
Like, I'm not sure we have a name.
So yeah, she just wants like
Yeah.
all the intel, and
All happy to gossip adjacent.
Gossip adjacent.
and then Right, there's that. Cool. So yeah, you're making some friends.
Left.
So those of you who stay, or those of you who are back at camp or stayed in camp, Jean-Pierre comes scurrying back in, jumps into the cart, starts.
Did you actually
Face first dive.
Yeah.
Oh, they've pseudo dispersed and come back in, and there's.
We've made assignments. I'm pretty sure. They also they probably need to be away from the train for a little bit.
And Chloe and Patricia help get some things sorted and get him his travel pack ready to head back out.
Travel team.
Yeah. And so.
I'm sure it's like a wicker backpack.
So you observe. So Fred observes this as he's like, yes, you're missing a tooth. Come on inside. You know, it's like, you know,
I think I have extra ones that I can put inside your head.
it's like, yeah. And they're like, really?
Well, I have a small collection of fakes that you can put. It's perfectly fine.
That sounds great.
Wow, it looks so real. Yes, yes.
And it's in there so tight. Is it ever gonna come out? not.
As long as you don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, it's as good as the last one.
It'll be there till you die.
That's right. So, I feel a little woozy. That's normal. You lost a bit of blood with the.
It's the anesthesia.
And then
What's that word?
and there goes Jean-Pierre with the pack. Yeah, so that's going on with that. After a few minutes, Jean-Pierre comes back with his field kit, and under
Now I
your
want a field kit of tea.
under your
I
direction
have several varietals.
Yes.
Under
I don't know
your-
what her ailment is.
under your
So you'll be
direction
prepared.
and tutelage.
Yes.
There has been a pre-tea situation set up with a
No,
little
that's not how you do it.
with a little fire and a couple nice sturdy cast iron pots.
If she could flush, she would.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. They're trying real hard, which is adorable. So make me self-control roll.
Oh, no!
You might flush whether you want to.
No.
Difficulty 5. They're not doing great, but the enthusiasm's there. 1. Yes,
You should.
it is the most adorable. You flash back to the tea party you just had, and it's delightful to be around normal people.
I'm gonna drink the tea.
Yeah, and they're gonna love it because I'm best at tea. And yeah, so as soon as Jean-Pierre shows up, you guys have the first serving to sort of get acclimated with it. Just as Mrs. Taylor comes back with a couple with the supplies, and she's like, the pie can wait a moment. I would like some tea with Mrs. Sterling. and
Just the happiest little peach.
yeah. So after that little bit, they're like, yes, Mrs. Mrs. McDaniel. Mrs. McDaniel's constitution is a bit weak because of the affliction. So we're not all gonna go on in there.
Just to be silly, is she consumptive?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hi.
And there's a few nods and a couple because like it's the symptoms, but like there's still some hope it's not. And they're like, we're not all gonna go, but so that you have someone to protect you from that scoundrel. Lavina is like, I will come with you, help carry things as well as your.
Well, I also jump in. You're more than welcome to
No,
accompany.
absolutely.
You're quite lovely, yes, thank you.
I don't know if he can quite stand up to Mr. McDaniel as he, but
Hugh giggles and goes, "Oh, I don't need Jean-Pierre."
and Regina's like, good,
My father was a hunter.
good. They're like, see, that's
And my first husband can't laugh either.
And one of the guys chokes on the tea a little. William is like, oh,
Just call honey.
yeah. And they're like, well, okay. And so you and Lavinia and Jean-Pierre slide over to the tent, and she raps on the post, on the front post of the pavilion tent situation. You hear the familiar rap, and you can smell the pie.
Oh yeah.
The pie is here.
What is happening? I like that bacon and pie.
Lord bless Mrs. Taylor.
That's right.
I go and I open up the curtain for the little gathering. Come on in. Yeah, don't be shy.
And so yeah, you all scurry in.
Do either of you want one?
Nothing. I can work. The tent's pretty sparse, but it has a couple comforting things, blankets and stuff. And there's probably in the range of, you'd say, if she didn't look so sick that you'd think that she was probably in her like late 60s, almost 70s, but she looks a lot older than that because of disease and things like that. So welcome in. This is Annie. Annie, this is Mrs. Sterling. She's with a new group of travelers that came along. They brought over some fancy tea from out east, and
Very far east.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it's as far east as it comes. And Miss Taylor brought some of the pie that we love so much.
And the pie comes out, and obviously, so this is actually Mrs. Lapham who's helping.
Oh.
But she did bring Mrs. Taylor's pie.
Yeah.
So there's him and Lapham sort of orbit each other in the tent because they're familiar with this layout and that sort of thing, and so you become a pillar in the orbit with the tea. And
It was like the pack has legs, so it's a table.
yeah,
Mrs. Sterling, if you would over on the table where there's a couple of jars over there, there's some honey that you might actually appreciate if you have that in your tea. I got it from out in the woods back a ways. I think it was there was a blackberry bush that got into it, so you may try to like it.
Lavina's like, it is amazing.
No, I don't want to say it's amazing. I mean, I just found it.
I said the words, and that's why I said
Lovely.
it. And so,
No. Oh, okay. I'm just like,
how does
just
Annie react to all this? Like,
Annie?
is she able to ambulate at all, or is she...
Annie talks a little bit, but she mostly tries to stay silent because I imagine I don't actually know what the symptoms of consumption are, so you probably know better than me to look it up.
We're getting those.
It's basically your lungs fill with fluid,
Okay.
and you're very lethargic, and you get fevers, but it's mostly that your lungs fill with fluids, that you're constantly coughing up like blood and phlegm.
Yeah.
So it's
she's-
like pneumonia on steroids.
Yeah. So she
Yeah.
doesn't. She tries to not talk a lot because it takes a lot of effort, but she's at least very aware of everything that's going on, and is smiling most of the time, as weekly. And she's sitting in a rudimentary wheelchair because those actually do exist by this point in time, but it's not fancy or anything like that. With a well-made blanket wrapped around her legs. So, but she can't actually eat any of the stuff other than she takes a few bits that Russ feeds to her. A little bit of tea here, a little bit of pie there, but not much.
So you're asked to, recount things that are going on out east and basically pseudo-entertain, which you're more than happy to slide into.
Happy to tell stories.
And you're indoors, and there's tea and pie, and it's actually pretty great. Not as many manners to trigger. It is actually terribly pleasant. Jean-Pierre's there, and it's actually quite an interesting thing to have this civilized of a situation.
At some point during the exchange, Russ eventually asks Miss Lapham to, can you go get, Miss Lapham, do you happen to have any of them little tea biscuits that you sometimes break out? Do you still have a stock of those? I promise I'll get you something.
Let me check. All right.
So Pippa has a jar and slides them where they can't be seen.
And she's like, I will. Now that you seem to have calmed down with our new guest.
I told you it was a little bit of a practical joke.
She gives a knowing glance to Annie, and Annie just nods like, I know. Every day I know.
This is Lapham?
Yeah.
Oh, Mrs. Lapham, I've learned all grisly affairs are really nothing but marshmallow fluff.
And she goes, well, there's fluff in there all right. Okay, I'll be right back. And she hustles out. And yeah, you guys are left alone.
So he looks at you, and now you can see that his eyes glow red, which are the same red glow that you've seen out of Fred, and the same red glow that you've seen out of Hickory.
Yeah.
And he says, I was playing with y'all before, but I want to be very serious right now. You and your friends, you here to cause trouble in the camp at all?
No, we're on our way to Los Angeles, as well as San Francisco. We are here doing nothing but passing.
Alright, it's fair. As long as y'all are here to be civil, y'all aren't here to do any untoward things to these fine folk.
Most of our entourage.
No one can speak
Fuck,
for
what is
the
that? Yeah. Most of our entourage does make up mortals, so no, we have to treat them kindly as well.
She might be doing untoward things, but it's not because she's.
It's all
not-
consensual.
It's all on the level.
Human
Yeah.
untoward.
Yeah.
She might be cheating people out of money and possessions. That's not because she's a vampire.
Weird thing to point out
Yeah.
that I haven't mentioned yet. You're looking at Bill, and before this, or you're looking at
Yes.
Russ, and unless you had some sort of like other senses going at the time, looking at him, he doesn't look like a vampire in the slightest. Like he's big, but he just looks like he's alive pretty much all the time.
Oh, he's got that?
He's got the flush.
He's got the
yes.
blush of health.
Yeah,
Seriously.
But he says,
and a Mars.
That's why she was so tan.
since me and Annie got out here, these people have been real good to me. They've been real good to Annie. They've been, left us be. A few of them know about my affliction, and a few of them know. Well, a lot of them know about Annie's. But I want to make sure that they're not targets for any of that mess that all those city folk from out east like to try and bring out here.
Once again, I've only been referred to as a city folk by you.
No, I apologize for my
Brashness.
yeah. I'm only kind of good with words.
Well,
Sorry about
English
that.
came from my people, so.
Daddy tried to instill some of that book learning in me, but it only went so far.
Holding her tongue.
Russ knows his faults. Well, if that's the case, I would certainly like to meet the rest of your people there. I assume that you're not the only one with teeth in the group.
You get the sense that, and of course, correct me if any of this is not quite, he doesn't consider this entire place his herd,
No.
but he does consider it sort of his range, not exactly his domain or his.
Yeah.
So that's and all that seems above board so far.
He's protective, but not in a manner that you usually find out of vampires.
Yeah.
He's protective. He does not feel like he owns
He's
them.
protecting, he's not.
Yeah.
owning.
Establishing
Yeah.
dominance. Yeah. He's not teeth. He
And-
doesn't pay on his
And
back.
at the very least, you have noted a lot of accomplished kills and trophies, etc. So at the very least, he's probably one of the better people to trade with for supplies. out of the camp for more natural resources. So it would make sense for him to.
Well, I can't fully speak for my companions, but I assume that if you come with the same regard that you expect me to come with, you're more than welcome to come meet the others.
Oh, that sounds like a mighty fine time then. I promise, swear on the Bible that I will not do none of that stuff that I did to you earlier. I promise I won't try to scare nobody. I don't meet a whole lot of new people out here, so sometimes, you know, I just. Yeah, everybody has gotten used to it, and every time I do something, Mrs. Taylor always she gets that fan whipping through
Puts
the air.
her hand
Oh,
to reassure, and just comes back to the tea.
Thank you. I don't really feel much like talking about it right now, but if you care to, I'll give you the whole story about myself and Annie later. But for the time being, just know that, well, she's been with me for I don't know, 50 years. At this
The
point,
hand goes
so.
back and rests
Yeah.
there, and you miss Mr. Sterling. Just there's just a pang.
Boy.
yes.
What a triggering encounter.
At least this time you're not like your face isn't about to burn off.
You're right.
So yeah, there's that lovely exchange.
Oh.
The house is taken off.
For half a second, I thought someone was farting and it was just going
Finally made it happen.
Yeah.
The entire room.
Just
Oh, it was shouts.
perfect poise.
Yeah,
You
it
just
was
let it happen.
It was so long.
It
It
will
was
stop.
like,
It will stop
well,
ripping in a
fucking
second.
That's
That
stamina.
wasn't awesome.
Control, you know?
It's that I ain't even mad.
Put a bagpipe in there, let you go.
It's just like it's not only lasting a long time, it's like just consistent.
Yeah, it was just the
It's a
perfect.
consistent sound.
There's a wrap on the post out front, and now it is Mrs. Taylor with a brand new unopened box of, it says biscuits on it. They're not great. They're not a good brand. But they're at least biscuits.
You also note that the entire time Russ has been slurping down tea, eating
I always
pie.
got that thing.
He's pretty uncouth about slurping tea. Like he's like holding it like he's like slugging it back and everything.
No, I have no issue keeping my cool here.
No.
And yeah, so Mrs. Taylor comes in to have her turn, and once again, it's
Half like 1/8 as a slight, but the rest of it is complete truth. I do wish I could enjoy things like that in such abandon.
Believe me, I'm pretty happy that I can still. When Miss Annie over here, or
When the missus.
yeah, when the missus was a fair bit more spring, she tell you what, she could cook a roast like you wouldn't believe.
and Mrs. Taylor joins in, and the tone, lifts a bit more, and it's actually a pleasant, little time. Meanwhile, back at the camp,
Probably deliver Bertram back at some
Daryl.
point.
yeah, Daryl and Bertram, commiserate a bit with, and Fred finishes up his guests for the evening, and yeah, the evening draws on, and finally, I believe Mrs. Sterling takes her leave of the situation, and because
Leaves her biscuits.
yeah, Annie's got to rest up.
All right, Annie goes to sleep somewhere.
Yeah, it's a lot of activity, which is, but yeah, she probably signals with a placing down of the cup and another hand on the arm.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys wrap up with that, and make me a Yeah, perception plus alertness. Difficulty 5. 2. As you all sort of come out of the tent to let Annie have some quiet time, you see Alman like looking out at the lake, and he points at William, and he goes, "Bijou, jewel, something delicate, something beautiful." And William's like, "Yeah, it just gets cold." And they're like, "Oh hey,"
Almer, are you trying to name stuff again?
and he's like, "I was trying to articulate."
Yeah, that's a fancy word you got for naming stuff.
Yeah, no, that when you're using the words you want to, so
Two people who don't know anything about linguistics.
yeah. And so you excuse yourself from the situation and move back to camp, and you know, everyone says their goodbyes. And you get back to camp, and everyone seems to be in much better spirits. It's interesting. And Patricia's like, "What happened?"
Oh, so much.
I think the rest of you would be back in camp by now, as it's late.
Patricia, if you wouldn't mind gathering Frederick and the others and having them meet here.
Oh, I'm just wondering is there actually anybody young and attractive at this camp?
Yes, there are a few people.
Okay.
You mean?
Then I stared at them lying.
Oh, okay. Yes. You
And I
had.
wrote about them furiously in my journal.
Furious.
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Because you do all things.
There were 6 different people
Oh,
who were stared at longingly, and so you write about them in great detail.
Right. It's been a long trek.
Yeah.
You're running fanfic.
oh yeah.
Erotic fan fiction.
I mean, good thing that Frankie doesn't see this book anymore.
Right.
What's this word mean? Shh.
Nope.
Dude, there was a book I read when I was in like 5th grade.
Someone's fanfic.
No, it was like just an actual book.
Oh, that could have been someone's fanfic.
I mean, I never finished it when I was younger, and then I went back and read it as an adult, and like read the whole thing, and I was like, oh, this is garbage. But it was one of those ones where like, this is a book for adults, and I picked it up because it was like, ooh, it's a book about a haunted house with like weird voodoo sex ghosts in it.
Not
right.
Oh man, I love their new album.
Yeah. The number of times that I had to be like, hey mom, what does this word mean? She'd be like, what are you reading? Oh my god. I think I asked her what like orgasm meant, and I asked her what like testosterone was.
Wow.
And she, but once again, as
Ghost
is
should
common
not
with
have
my
that.
parents, it was never like, hey, don't read that anymore. It was just like, I don't think that's appropriate for you. And that was the end of the conversation. I was like, so I kept reading it.
Right.
Like,
Someone will have the talk with it.
nope.
Eventually.
Yeah,
So I send Patty and Jean-Pierre to go
to gather the troops.
round up the bodies.
Yeah. Do you come back to camp, or roll me a d10?
She found a new friend, so.
I might be a little bit busy with my fanfic.
You bring him back to camp.
Oh, I got a new pet. What's her name?
I have to write it down on
I gotta introduce him
That's
to
right.
Delia.
Well, I still can.
Tamsin.
Man named Tamsin.
Tamsin first up.
Will you make
Hey
it
Delia, we got a boy with a girl name.
Did you bring home a human?
Was Tamsin female?
Yeah, Tamsin's a girl name.
God damn it, I was gonna use.
That's so funny.
I mean, his name could still be Tamsin.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
It's Tamzen. Tamsin.
Because you're like, yeah, some of the guys also like to play cards, and you know,
Yeah.
we've been playing.
What
They've
was
been
his last name?
first fight.
Not me. to make that sound.
And
That was a good reaction.
yeah, you're like, the boys are getting a little tired of playing with me. So,
I got some. Or hold on. You know what? I got someone to introduce you to. Hey, Celia!
and you hear a yeah.
Come here for a second. I got a surprise for you.
Woo!
Her
Liz Press.
She
nicely
comes bouncing out.
in her better corset now.
I get to the jackpot.
It's like, that's a good night. It's a real good night.
I'd like you to meet Tamsin. He's got a girl's name. Isn't that funny?
He's like,
Because Tamsin is a British girl's name, so being from the Isles,
yeah,
she
my
was
parents
around.
wanted me to be posh, and it didn't really work out. But
No, it's good. It's cute on you. It's good.
thanks, I guess.
Someday someone's gonna write a song.
It's like, hey,
about
my
her
name's
girl's name.
Eglantine. People call me Bill. I'm a girl with a boy's name. Doesn't matter.
Dia's like, that sounds like a fancy name, whether it's for a girl or a boy.
It's like, oh, he's a fancy gentleman. Like, ain't you?
And he's like, I tried.
I feel like you're trying to breed your dogs.
So, Bill doesn't do the sex thing.
Yeah, but it's just like
She's just trying to throw, literally and figuratively, throw Delia a bone.
Yeah.
So,
You're being a good wingman.
yeah.
Nice.
It's like, I'll leave you to, I'm getting waved at by people, so you guys, you get familiar.
It's like nobody looking that direction.
Yeah, there's something about, would you like to see my deck? And oh, well, even on the first date, oh, ha, ha, ha.
Show her your chips. Yeah.
And yeah, that honk laugh that she has reports. And he's like, absolutely. You play cards? And she's like, ha! There's a bear shit in the woods. Come on over here. Come on over to the wagon.
At some point, from off to the distance, Russ is like, "Oh yeah, they do."
Yeah. Somewhere in the woods nearby, a bear is reading some newspaper, being like, "Can I get a minute?"
Yeah.
And then they rap about Charmin Ultra. It's disturbing. I don't like it.
I
Oh,
hate those bears.
Why are they so into toilet paper? That's
Why
not.
are they so puppy?
That's not a thing you need to be into.
Right.
I'm not here to teach shame, but
Even though you don't
Obviously,
see
you haven't
it.
gotten really good toilet paper.
Even though you don't see it, the
Yeah.
animators have been really good at showing that bear's face, and you know the exact moment where that toilet paper is coming in contact with his bum.
Yep.
You know the exact second.
he's one of those guys on like a Reddit, like a subreddit specifically about toilet paper, where it's like, oh, you got to get the highest quality stuff. It's got to have the right pH
Oh my god,
balance.
it's that scene from Deadpool?
Yeah, exactly.
Or no, it's the scene from it's the scene was it Deadpool or was it Captain Marvel?
Explain the scene.
Where it's the rednecks out at the truck and he's like, so for that extra oomph, you take a wet wipe and you
I
clean
know
it
what
out.
you're talking about. I don't remember where it's at.
And then something crashes into their field.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
good. Is that?
I don't remember.
Oh no, because I think that's when she crash lands.
Yeah, because I remember there being an
Captain
alien of
Marvel,
some
yeah.
sort, and like one of them is actually Matt Damon or something, and so like it's like an Easter eggy thing.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah.
I think that's from Captain Marvel.
Yeah. So that's
I
it.
don't remember.
Anyway,
I know what you're talking about too. Though.
yeah, they're on that Reddit.
These ones are less stale and chewy.
Oh, fine.
So there is
We were fine.
yeah. So that's going on, and suddenly Daryl is very interested in the window about something, and
Deadpool 2.
thank you.
Oh, okay.
And Bertram is now kid
Make it
with a couple feet. But Chloe has requested your presence, and you're in a good mood. Things are calm. Things are great. It's good energy
I
here,
feel like I'm about
man.
to shit all over his good mood.
Yeah, yes, but no.
Not completely, but something will shit on his good mood.
And the rest of you also have a decent sense of like of peace in this basin. Like it's like
Yeah,
it's nice. It's good. There's good energy here.
I'm gonna bring some of the shit on his good mood.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
And so and of course Jean Pierre shows up at you, Mrs. Allen, or Ms. Allen, and directs you over to Mrs. Sterling's cart. And yeah, everyone sort of moseys over.
Well, I always meet people when we go everywhere.
And everyone goes, oh no.
No, they're fine this time.
Do you include Lou?
Yeah. Get his ferry boat over here.
Yeah, Lou saunters over.
Yeah.
The horse follows.
That's fine.
And he's like,
The horses.
Penelope, what? What? Go. And she rests her snoot on his hat. And he's like, why?
I feel like I'm in the furthest corner possible, writing.
Yeah.
Furiously writing.
Now you're writing horse fan fiction about her and Lou.
No, though, I'm kind of like, where does Lou fit in the hierarchy of who's hot?
He absentmindedly
My hot
pats
or
on
not
occasion.
Page.
I'm sorry, I don't have Lou's last name again.
I just was staring at it.
Read it. Read it.
No.
Carpenter.
Yeah, Lewis Carpenter.
Where the fuck is that written? Oh, it's gonna be written right there now.
Yeah, Lewis Carpenter. Lou has an old ass horse. There
It's
are a lot
really
of
clingy.
bees. So many bees. They're babies.
That was my joke! The other day I was like, what was that weird joke I made? It was so funny!
Babies, yeah.
Babies.
Yeah, don't let him bite you, you'll catch babies.
Nice.
Pass me another strawberry Fanta, please. Want some of that? Some of that sugar water?
Please.
Strawberry flavored sugar water?
When
Yeah.
Deanna picked it out, I was like, are you gonna drink that? Because I sure as fuck am.
And the other day,
Well,
Phillies is now going to get
There's at least
powers.
a couple of people.
Of
So
course
that
she
we can
is.
have babies.
Yes.
Uh,
Babies.
So I
yeah,
have
so-
frog people, I have kobolds.
Phillies,
Now I have bees.
Yeah. Phillies, babies. When you really need bees, but they also want them to be fairy-like. It's TM.
They all have little horns. Instead of antennae.
You actually have bees now?
No, but
Okay.
it's not happening.
I mean, I feel like she's gonna collect things. That seems to be your thing.
I just have hordes of creatures that either bow down to me or think I'm their mother.
You still have to figure out what your god. Like you're going to get more god powers eventually.
I
Because
do, yes.
Perception plus alertness?
I want laser eyes.
Or occult if you want, because this is applicable.
I'm sorry, it was
Or a cult- a
perception?
Perception plus alertness.
I'm gonna go occult.
Difficulty.
For just perception plus alertness, difficulty 7. For perception plus occult, difficulty 6.
I got 5.
I got none.
For perception plus alertness.
4.
I got 5.
I'm sorry, difficulty what?
6 for occult.
1, 2, 3,
I got
4,
5
5,
perception plus
6,
alertness.
5, because I rolled a 1.
Botch.
These are your rolls.
so you either really succeeded or really failed.
So you're just happen to be included.
So no, I'm too busy. I'm
botch-
writing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ghost. There's a ghost in one of us. Wait, no, that makes no sense. But you're still not 100% sure there's not a ghost inside one of you right now.
That's weird. I mean, this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, for the rest, for those of you who rolled like 1 to 3,
I think no one did. It was
I
either
think
it was
Yeah, I think we
all
all
five.
did 5.
It was all 5s and notches.
for those that you had 5s, there's definitely something other listening into this conversation.
we all think it's Lou.
I stop and look around and go, pardon me, is someone listening?
The horse snorts, and Lou goes, "What?"
And I focus in on the horse.
Those dumb dead eyes. And the ears kind of do that twitch thing.
Are you something like him?
The ears don't twitch, and the dumb eyes continue to stare, and you hear it.
That horse is just like pillow, isn't it?
Right.
Horse knows
We're
it.
the horse is the mastermind.
We
It's
know
like
that's
pillow.
how.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm gonna turn on Auspex again.
It's gonna be. It's a thing where like Lou isn't really a person. He's a corpse that's being animated by
The horse.
the
By the
horse. The horse
Yeah.
is just driving
Horse
him
necro.
like a weird
Necro horse.
Shitty marionette.
marionette. Yeah.
Blah.
Oh no, it's like Scarface from Batman. The The ventriloquist.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Lou has the same old
He's got his fairy glitter.
colors, and it is a they are glints, like he had glitter transfer happen to his aura. They're
Yeah.
not. It's not.
He's
it's
not. He's not full
It's not explicit.
disco ball. He's just like, ooh.
I got some glitter on
He's
his
more of a
face.
shimmer than a glitter.
We know where you hang out.
That's funny because he doesn't know where he hangs out.
Right.
Whereas the horse, Penelope, actually. Let me see here. Hold on, let me just double check before I make a statement.
Can be Penelope's fault they were stuck in fairy hell for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
We never left.
This is all still in.
No, we're still back in Nevada.
Fucking bees.
The everything parts. It's like a simulation, but it's made of bees.
All the
Freaking
trees break
babies.
apart. It's just they're just made of bees.
The bees matrix.
Penelope trips you out because you've never seen this before.
Okay.
She is a warm beige.
Fuck, she's a
That's
beige.
weird.
It's not on that chart.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
Philippa actually does a. Oh.
Is it like a brown but really light? You can't color? What the
It's-
heck?
Give me
It's almost that mauve.
give me a
taupe, if you will.
give me a wits plus
Some eggshell.
empathy.
Difficulty.
Difficulty 6.
2 because I rolled 1 again. Goddamn once.
You from your experiences thus far, reading auras and having the medium situation, this is absolutely 100% not a malevolent creature. It is either neutral or benevolent.
Okay.
You
But this is not a regular horse.
no,
Yeah. Okay.
not in any way.
Some sort of god.
Alright.
You're like
Horse
this
god.
is an entity of supernatural providence.
It's Shadowfax, just
But-
really old.
But you're like, it ain't fey, probably, because it's not.
It's
but
not
like the
rainbowy.
beige kind of might be like composition of color,
It's
maybe.
like pearlescent.
It's
No,
everything.
it's just warm. It's like
Oh my god, it's one of
you
everything.
recall the
Yeah.
feeling of being warmed by a fire, and it's like that color,
Okay.
like somewhere in the depths of your memory of having human feelings and reactions to things.
Philippa suddenly like back into herself and goes, all right, anyway.
The horse has horse true face.
The horse
True horse,
Just
no horse
slowly-
procedure.
carefully nips the top of the hat crown and lifts it just a bit. And Lou was like, pardon. Sorry. Just pulls it back down. and you hear the of the teeth as it pops out. And the horse sort of snuffles and sort of like saunters back out of the circle.
Your favorite horse. I'm sorry. So in town, you know how I always meet people. But they're very pleasant mortals, actually, quite lovely. Except one of them. It's not that he's not pleasant. It's just he's a little rough, rather like you, Frederick. Just fun, but in a different way.
What's fun about Fred?
Excuse me, you can see that his fingers have. Well, you're not entirely certain those are his fingers still.
There's like way too many of them.
They're all different lengths.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's a
They
thumbnail.
look like bugles, but made of flesh.
He's really just holding someone else's hand, and that's real hands. Besides
Yeah.
Just discards them at some point.
Any of all of these
Flops
things,
them
my
around.
hands all of a sudden, my fingers all have like 12 extra joints, so you have really no idea how that works. But
Wow.
Now,
noodles.
Miss Bellis,
How does that to me? I'm
Frederick
perfectly fine.
is Miss Bellis. Frederick has quite a few fun things about him.
I guess.
We just don't
Yeah.
all have the same sense of humor.
Most of them are in my cart, actually. I can bring some of them out.
Wait. So we're gonna talk about this man.
This man. Is there a man?
But not for you, dear.
Blush.
He has a
No,
wife.
not blush, but you know.
Yes.
Lou looks down and goes,
Ruffle.
my heart is broken.
She's not for you either, Lou.
Well, you know, it's nice to be liked.
Yes, well
All right.
done.
You
Yes,
you hear a distinctive from a few yards off.
Furiously
Right. You getting in trouble with your
No, that's right,
boyfriend?
because Lou's spoken for too. He's got the horse.
Yes.
Who knows?
We all like him.
Yeah,
This doesn't stop me from writing fanfic.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I did not call him Lou. Mr. Carpenter. So she explains would I have known his clan from
You
his red eyes? I mean, I know.
in plus a call.
He probably looks about as much like any other gangrel as you've seen,
Yeah.
but he doesn't talk like one because he seems much more.
You're like Gangrel. Most likely.
Pretty sure.
Not Nosferatu because he's
Put together.
not terribly bad looking. And you know, maybe
that just
maybe maybe something else.
Yeah, from the background.
But
Avis
But the
Whitman would
hunter
never-
leads me to believe
Oh,
more
yeah,
of a
he's-
gangrel.
I mean,
I think.
where are we?
Yeah.
Aha.
Taking my surroundings, and I do believe I've run across a gangrel, and he's a character.
And he seems to be in line with the masquerade insofar
Yes.
that he's not openly, and that there are some who know and some who don't.
Yes. He's rather protective of these people. He doesn't really. I don't get the feeling that he considers them his. He just has affection for them. And I have assured him that none of us here mean him any harm. Gives Frederick just a fifth of a second glance. The quickest flicker!
Frederick actually kind of wants to talk to him and like
Yes.
I'm actually
learn more about the area. So yeah,
Miss Sterling, I'm actually somewhat offended. I have spent my entire evening making sure that these people are healthy and well put together. The fact that I skimmed a little blood off the top is totally against the point.
Yes, but I'm not concerned on how you feel about the subject. I am a little bit concerned about how he might feel about the subject of your lineage.
What is the issue with my lineage?
Most people who follow the masquerade don't take kindly to your kind.
That is fair.
Yes, and while we have known that you are perfectly lovable in every way, it might take him a minute.
That is also fair.
So if I have anyone to worry about in this circle, it's you.
it's Bertram
Yes!
and Daryl and the coach and everything else.
If I
And the
haven't
cart
made,
with the big
Maybe
werewolf head
Tasha,
on
but
it.
she's not here right now.
if I haven't made it abundantly clear at this point, I have tried everything to distance myself from the rest of my clan because they're all. Well, I am also a monster. I'm not denying that, but they're all assholes.
Yes, and as I said, we've come to know you and we understand this. But at first
I'm an
glance,
asshole, but I'm your guys.
yes,
That's right.
you're our asshole. I understand. And we are all monsters here, but none of us are innocent in any way.
Our shenanigans are lighthearted and
Fun. These are cruel and mean.
Yes.
It's not
Evil
shenanigans
shenanigans.
at all, really.
Evil shenanigans.
But as it has taken time for us to get to know you, he's going to meet you in a few seconds. So we just want you to look pretty, if you will.
He stops for a second. He smiles.
Okay, not that pretty.
and puts the other person's hands on his hips.
So
He has way
do
too many
you-
teeth too. Like, oh, don't put that away.
Just
like
all
a-
fangs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
the second row.
Like shark's teeth.
So do you need me to step away or
No, Miss
Because you know I can't do that.
Murray.
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Murray, you're entirely correct.
Murray.
No, your lineage doesn't boast a hostile background. I don't suppose we'll have too much of a problem with
Oh,
you.
really? Was that the agreement that Russ was going to come around this evening?
I don't know if he's coming around this evening. I just said he's coming, and I'm letting everyone know of
You
his
said in a
presence.
few
Seconds.
seconds.
I meant
Yeah.
along the lines of like he'll only meet you and
Oh, okay.
make a snap decision of you
Oh.
in a few moments,
Ah.
where we have been on this road for like a year and a half.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Ms. Allen might have been like, he's meeting us now. Was we but so that might have helped clarify.
That's not quite what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've taken the time to get to know him,
I promise I
This
will be on
person
my
is
best
new.
behavior.
as you usually are.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah. Well, that's all for me to report. Oh, his wife does look a bit consumptive, so if you have any,
No, that's unfortunate.
yes.
For anybody that's into the whole masquerade thing, it is a little weird that he seems to be married to a. You didn't get the sense that she's consumptive, so you don't get the sense that she's a vampire.
I just assumed they were married before he was a
Yeah,
vampire.
but we've got Bill here.
I'm married.
Oh, okay, that's true, yeah.
So we probably
Why?
would be like, could be.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm properly married
That's right.
after becoming a vampire.
I don't know. I always assumed that your husband was supposed to be a vampire. Or was a vampire.
He is a vampire.
No, I know, but the whole point of him being married to a human is kind
Yeah.
of weird.
Well, I mean,
Like she said, probably beforehand, and
Yeah.
then chose not to change her as well.
I just assumed.
She was like, they've been together for 50 years, they said.
Yeah.
Does he look,
Yeah.
look that old?
I mean,
Yeah.
she does,
Yeah,
but
she
he
does.
doesn't
Oh, I
quite,
see.
I would assume,
No.
because he's all grizzly. So I'm like, I'm a Toreador. I believe in love in any way.
Yeah.
I am that Toreador.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm just like, oh, love transcends.
I just want to know what it feels like to be a real teenage girl.
It's
We're gonna let you do
horrible.
some giggling.
Yeah.
More like a goose
Absolutely.
shouting at some child, but you know that there's joy there.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, you kids.
It's so adorable.
And
So, Miss Allen, I don't mean that he's going to be here in a few moments. I mean that he'll only have a few moments to understand, in case that was your worry.
Oh no, I was definitely projecting an idea onto in character why you would have to re-explain what you meant.
Oh, I see. Yes, I
Yeah.
thought I was just doing this out of character.
No, that's fine.
No, that's all right.
Oh, that works too. So yeah, no, that's all right. That's good. That's quite a bit for one night. Hell of an introduction to Lakeside, and day falls. You guys go back to your,
Bill gets back to the tent, she's like, nah. She's like, you guys done? I gotta sleep.
and they're like, oh yeah, come on in. Yeah, and like they're just playing cards.
Fine. I mean, like, I commend you, but, you know, never mind. Going to sleep. And she's like,
And Dio's like, let's go for a walk. And he's like, I walk everywhere. And she's like, can you walk with me? And he's like, oh, okay.
like, crawls in different blocks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You go to sleep, you come back, and he's like, let's do it on top of the
She's asleep now.
It's-
She'll never hear it.
it's like extra dirty that way.
Oh gosh.
Do I see Theo? And
Oh yeah, Theo comes back shortly after the powwow, and he checks in. He's like, Mrs. Allen, checking in.
anything interesting?
I mean, a little bit. There's an odd little like general purpose tavern going up at the edge of town, the edge of the camp. There seems to be, it's actually a decently tight-knit community for how far some of these people have traveled out.
Does this company seem like a well-read company?
There's a mix.
Literate.
There's a mix.
If you get a chance during the daylight hours, if you find some new books for me, I would greatly appreciate it on your journeys.
Absolutely.
oh, you give me a school one.
I'm gonna just eat the children, honestly.
That's a pretty good threat. Did you do your homework?
I'm sorry, what are your names?
Perhaps
My name? Yeah.
close might be hard to
Eliza
find,
Bradford.
but
Um,
any histories
Stella
of the
Crane.
area or books
Nick
on the
Stosha.
floor.
Or
That-
Natasha.
There.
Oh, that's where that
Would be
name
there.
came. I was like, what the fuck did I write here? it's
Um,
Yes.
Unlikely.
Does she read? Does she read Spanish?
No, but she's got a whole fucking century to learn.
Because you more
Yeah.
than Theo would know that this was Spain until a few years ago, and then was Mexico until a year ago.
If
Or
you
this
bring
year.
back books in Spanish, she will take her time and figure out how to read them.
There
Well,
was
it is based on Latin, so.
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
Carson and his crew that came through a few years before this and that sort of thing. So there's some stuff in English, but most of the better knowledge of the area would be in Spanish.
Whatever he finds, she'll figure it out. Either she'll figure out how to read it or she won't read it.
All right. He's like, I'll keep an eye out. Absolutely, yeah. Let's see here. He's like, actually, I think I might know someone whom I met in town who might have an idea on that. I'll investigate during the day, and I'll have some more info tomorrow night when you're ready to start your evening.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Rest well. And day falls. Another night comes. Blood points, willpower.
How many days has it been now?
This is your second night in the basin.
Mm-hmm.
Your first full night at the camp. What do you mean, how many days?
Just how many days we've been Tahoe for now? It's 2.
This is our second day. We just
Yeah.
got here
Second
yesterday, yeah.
I went to the bathroom. For all I know, you could have done that goddamn
That's entirely true.
Right.
It's been 10 years!
But you know,
It's now
Yeah.
1910.
I literally, like I said, I went to the bathroom for all I fucking know.
Philippa has 4 new husbands.
Man.
You're all mayors of the town, the entire town.
Bill has
Yeah.
established the city of Reno.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
And Eve has dug like miles and miles of tunnels underneath it.
Patricia
No,
has
right.
become her wife. It's fine.
Like one day the cartels will be using those tunnels.
That's right. In a few years, there'll be prohibition. So
So yeah, the second night, and Fred, you're a little excited to meet this guy.
Mhm.
He's a gangrel, local, been here a while. He's gonna have some knowledge of the area.
I can't wait to see him.
Oh God, don't make me do that, please.
We'll see.
Probably-
Yes!
We'll see.
he probably has a lot of teeth.
At the very least, I gave them both very different accents, so that's easy enough.
We're all
Oh
reading
no!
the
Now
table.
that just means you're more likely to mix them up
I
mid-sentence.
know.
I want to see him have an
So
argument.
weird.
Right, Theo's there, and Theo says, Miss Allen,
Yes.
I made the acquaintance of a young lady, Colette Dumont,
Sounds like a prostitute.
and French, so yeah. And
Wow.
so,
But also fun.
and she has a small library. She has a small collection of books, and some of them are recorded from some of the missions of the state, so might have some info of relevance. And I was wondering if you wanted to meet her at her camp, or if you wanted her to come here, whichever you're inclined towards.
I'll go ahead and meet her at her camp.
All right, excellent.
Okay.
If I may, she seems to be a woman of good breeding,
Mm.
and I think Mrs. Sterling might be interested in meeting her.
Oh, alright. She goes some knocks on Pepper's door.
Good morning, Miss Allen.
Would you like to walk about the room?
I would love to take a walk about campus. I'm proud about the camp.
have an
I really
inquiry.
thought she'd ask.
I have an inquiry with a Miss or Mrs.
Miss.
Miss Colette Dumont. To look at some literature.
Oh, lovely.
And
It's
I
been a
hear
while.
she is quite a refined woman, according to Theo.
Oh, is Theo looking for refined women?
He is nearby if you wish to.
Oh no, we're just gonna talk about him in front of him. I'm like, I haven't the slightest idea. He could do it.
Oh,
You
lovely.
really need to find Frankie a person.
What?
Like a
He
person.
keeps even composure, but there's a slight
It's real
smirk
hard.
in there. It's like,
Or-
they're taking
We're
the piss.
worse.
So we are taking a turn. This is what you do when you take a turn.
He's like, it could be much worse.
This confidence in our being treated.
Our joke is when we go to the Dickens Fair, we're gonna shout these things at least once or twice. We're like, man, I wish it was turn back
No,
around."
Nice.
I think we're gonna try to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've never gotten to go, and he's obviously never been.
Yeah.
When is it?
We're going on the 23rd, which is like the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's every weekend until.
Oh, November 23rd.
Yes.
It starts. Yeah, it
It
starts.
started early this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's starting right before Thanksgiving, and then it goes till right before Christmas, right after
Yeah.
Christmas.
I might be able to be talked into going into a second time.
I'm like, I
we
might
shall
be
see.
able
We're like, oh.
we're going that day because Amanda will be here.
Yeah, 'cause she's here till Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, so she leaves Black Friday.
Yeah.
And you, of course, feel right at home out here because it's just mountains
It's
and
great.
woods, and yeah, it's
It's
It
great.
goes till.
I hang out with you because I'm Frankie right now.
Abe is smoking a pipe and whistling and sitting down and whittling things. He's having a grand old time.
It goes till the 21st of December.
That's
So,
what
yeah.
I was like right before.
you're like, I'm about to make myself a rocking chair. Like this is
Yeah, there's good wood out here.
yeah. Yeah. Every so often you look up at one of the pines and you're like, yeah.
We have one of those sweet tables that just looks like a piece of like polished.
Yeah, just big old slab.
slab of wood. Yes.
Because I feel like Philippa should be here when Mr. McDaniel shows up. She's gonna string a telephone line, which is Patricia, Chloe, shown here to like send the signal that like, oh, it's time to go home.
The bats.
I have to be there to introduce him to the people.
Runners.
Do a proper introduction.
Analog telephone.
Okay, I apologize. Continue.
Chet has gone fishing.
How cute.
He's like, that piece of body of water that large, some good fishing. I'm out.
These bitches.
He dropped something. I don't know what it was.
It's like a tin cup.
The problem is now that every time anybody says Chet, I just think of Chet
You been Chet?
from from Weird Science.
Oh, that is the
So-
worst Chet.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
But in this weird goblin form.
He was poop. He was a literal pile of shit.
Yep.
So gross.
So you guys are led through camp by Theo, and yeah, there's definitely some areas where it's a little more. We don't mind if there's mud, and there's some places where there's like, oh no, less mud, please. And you come to one of the areas where there's no, less
leave
mud,
that at
please.
the door, thank you.
Where it's some nice grass, and there's like obviously worn paths with like stones that have been placed in the path to sort of, traverse the path as opposed to trampling down more and more grass to mud. And you come to it's like a juncture of like 3 tents, like not quite pavilion, but definitely a little nicer situation. And Theo sort of steps in front of one of the flaps, and he's like, "Miss Dumont, are you in?" And you hear like a little bit of a clatter and a rustle, and it's like, "Just a moment," and and the flap opens.
For where?
And you see this
I've got something for that already.
waif, narrow, sharp features, big eyes that sort of blink over sharp spectacles.
Nice.
Oh, she's a bird.
And no. And she
Deal was wrong.
She opens it up, and the fingers are long, like artist violin player fingers that sort of clamp onto the fabric of the tent.
And she's
She's looking at the flap.
She's not going out that flap, is she?
She's thinking about it.
I don't want her out the flap yet.
Ow, fuck.
Oh, no, there she goes.
God damn it. Oh no.
She's out the flap.
Good luck.
You might want to lock the gate behind you, not let it. Okay. Yeah, can you?
That's okay. We'll
Oh,
just try.
Baby, get in here. Sasha.
But y'all know.
Hold on, feel. Okay.
We got it.
There we go.
Thank you.
I got distracted. I distracted Theo, but
So Abe will tell you about his plans to build furniture and ask you if you know how to build.
You're suddenly getting the Ron Swanson
Nice.
education.
Don't think Frankie has any idea how to build
Oh,
furniture.
well.
No.
But it's probably buildable.
And he starts telling you about how none of this is white pine, but white pine is a beautiful wood.
That's right.
Whoa, we learned all about wood.
Yeah. Abe is like, there's a good rocking chair, maybe a table in this. Maybe.
chasing the cat around outside.
I can certainly chop wood.
Right.
Yes, I learned the finer arts of wood.
Look at her face.
Depending on how
I don't understand what happened. I was perfectly fine out there, Mom.
No.
You don't understand how I go to the bush.
No. She's
So,
such a big kitty.
That
Little
face.
chunks.
Did not understand what's going on here.
Oh,
Such chunks.
oh, the other cat's coming.
Oh no, she coming.
You're gonna have to lock her back up, dude.
Not ready for you to go outside.
Or you're gonna have to block it. Block
You're
her.
not.
The
She is.
flap.
That was a vocal protest.
accusatory.
There you go.
I'm ready for that shit.
She disagrees with you.
What?
We're doing this.
Chonky kitty, chonky puppy.
So Delia's there when you wake up, and the valise is there, but Tamsin is not.
Suitcase.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, he's gonna come back for it. He decided to leave it with us for a little bit while we're in town. He said you really liked it.
That weird, like, little one that I had. No.
Yeah.
I just thought
I left his boots here.
I didn't throw it
There's
away.
two
I'm interested in why you're giving it back.
Why we're giving it back?
I mean, like, you just left it here, you didn't like win it.
He was like, he thought you might want to play with it some more.
Is that what we
Yeah.
call it now?
So he was gonna head home and, or
What
to
if
his
I want
town.
to keep it?
What if I
I
don't
don't
want
know.
it?
I know you don't, honey.
She's like a questionable intelligence to have left it there.
Yeah, and she's like, I mean, I guess you'd ask him. Or pay for it, maybe?
Well, we'll see when he comes back, because he said he's coming back, right?
Oh yeah, he's coming back.
That's what I like to hear. That's my girl.
We had a lot of fun.
I bet you did. I hope you did.
I hoped you had.
Oh, not we. Oh no, we would. No. Ah.
What do I want it. I brought you. What do you want?
Oh,
This conversation
Well, that was
is the two
fine.
of you
it
making
was nice
noise
to
at each other.
have someone by, someone to chat with, and that's good. It was great. No, that was lovely. Thank you.
Bill just throws her hands up.
Bill's sitting over here trying to live vicariously through.
Well, no.
I tried to bring you
Bill's
some
nice.
Oh, she's at the gate.
Sounds
You-
like-
yeah.
Well,
And
she's not the gate anymore.
She's tasted the outside.
She knows what it is.
Were they in your door?
She knows that her bush is out there.
why does she have a
Was
bush?
this a thing?
She likes to sleep under that tree.
There's like that weird flower bush in the corner.
Yeah.
So
And
sweet air, free.
Every day she'd be out there. If we couldn't find her, we went to the bush and
I
there she
didn't
is.
want to do this.
Oh, you're in trouble now, girl.
Why not just put the doggy door cover? She's a dog door.
Because your dog also has to go outside and use the facilities.
Well,
So
she
she
wouldn't
doesn't
have been
make
able
use
to
of
do
the
it
restroom.
with the gate. She still couldn't do it with the gate there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm here. We'll forget about that. Oh my god.
Testing you.
I'm not ready for her to go outside.
Testing you.
Good to see she's acclimated so
No,
well.
she's, yeah.
That's what she was for a good while, right?
So she's like, you hungry?
Yeah, actually,
I suppose.
I am.
She's like she preens like
She don't want you to bring her men.
Feels a little like,
a little put off by how enthusiastic this is.
okay.
She's like, you want to sit in your lap like old times?
No, I actually don't.
Alright.
Just kind of slowly, like, turns on the off, stares her in the eye, but like, questioningly a little bit.
Made it weird. Why you gotta make it weird?
Right?
Now I know.
Yeah.
It's a couple.
Yeah.
She doesn't need much.
And so that happened. But yes, these fingers like cling to the tent flap, holding it, and you see the other fingers sort of like articulate onto the pinned glasses as she like fixes her eyes on you, and she's like, "Oh, why, hello." What was what was Theo's last name? What did I name his jerky?
Theo's last name is Tarameski? Tarameski?
Yeah, that sounds right. Tremsky.
Teremsky, yeah. Balthazar Teremsky.
Yeah. Sure.
Wait, where does Theo come from that?
It's just what he wants to be.
Oh.
It's like Bal or Thazar or Baltha or Zar. You like Theo kind of
Zar.
falls out of that one somewhere, and you're like, yeah, that's
He's the
easy.
one.
Where do you get Bill at Eglantine?
Yeah, it's like,
The bill comes from her last name.
Oh,
It comes from
okay.
Bellis.
Okay.
and she's like, ah, Mr. Tremsky, you brought your friends as you foretold. Excellent. And she's like, please, don't stand out in the weather.
She
come on.
old.
No, but she has an affectation.
Okay, I was all like, is she ancient?
She's middle-aged.
Okay.
She seems spry and in control of all of her faculties and what have you,
Oh,
but there's definitely a spinstery sort of, she's like,
So, I forgot that's what kind of like.
she's like, I'd love to have you for company. Come in. And
White Wolf's not in control of their own property.
That's true.
and then let's see, I'm just making sure I've got
Questionable things.
got my proper things. And she turns to allow all of you to enter, and Theo's like, here we are.
Okay.
So as you enter, there's like a mud entry area
Okay.
that goes up onto sort of just like felled wood that's covered in pelts.
Mhm.
So there's actually like a floor that runs through these, and there's like little appointments. There's like a little basin on a tripod, and a small table that sort of like that looks like it could be collapsed down, that sort of thing. And there's little streamers. There's a bit of color in here that sort of dangle. It's
the dingle.
it's kind of subtly cheery. I wouldn't say like fun like a birthday party, but
Yeah,
like
but it's
just,
got color, like
it's got-
yeah.
There's like this is my space, and I like to have some things that I like.
Okay.
Sort of vibe to it.
Okay.
It does have a homey feel to it.
I dig it.
Have a
And,
nice succulent in the corner.
Yeah, she's like, please,
That's very dead. This poor weather.
Yeah, she's like, please pull up a stool if you wish. I don't entertain much, but and there's like a camp chair and another like stool and she's like, Theo's told me that some of you that both of you are actually from the East Coast or even as far as London.
Yes.
Well, I'm not from London, but yes, I'm from England.
Somewhere in the ether.
Well, I'm not from the north, so I suppose.
And she goes, well, my family's from across the way there. I grew up in France.
Oh, parlez-vous français?
We and like the affectation drops out and it's just fluent French.
Yeah.
And she's like
Hannah vaguely watches in amusement as you guys twitter back and forth.
she's like, let me introduce myself properly. I am Colette Dumont, and our family is originally from this area in northern France. You may have heard of my sister, Abielle. She's a bit of a designer of furniture. Funnily enough, took after father, who was sort of a weaver / carpenter himself, and she drops out of the French to be like, but I am more of an observer, a student of the world, and I heard that Mr. Trensky was looking for some publishment.
Yes.
For Ms. Allen? So lovely to make your acquaintance. She does put out hands. If she doesn't throw hands, but she puts out hands, if shakes or what have you, and if you
sick meeting, bro.
Yeah. Do you take the hand or just sort of like gesticulate or okay?
Yeah, Hannah does because Hannah's like
spindly bone, just paper thin, like your old boss. Just very there.
That's a straight like 1,000-yard stare if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Right.
And
nothing like getting that like skeletal, spindly, cold hand on your bare shoulder.
She's ever touched me.
No, me.
And she's like, please let us retire to the library. And she deal with it. And she gets up and waits for you to also get up, and you move in and make a self-control check.
Okay. Manners.
Difficulty 6.
Ooh, 1.
Oh,
I always.
Barely making it.
So cool. You're like, how are these people so civilized? It's ridiculous.
I love these people. Why am I moving on?
And she takes you into another portion of the tent.
Oh yes, I suppose so.
Where there's a it looks like someone took 2 wash bins and put them under and on one up and one facing down, and it's been purposed into sort of a stove heating area. And there's a couple other stools around it, and there's what appears to be some sort of like mattress-filled cloth thing, and there are 4 little bookcases, and they're fairly ingenious. That you realize that if you were to like open up the sides of it just enough, the shelves would fall down and slat
Okay.
and flip onto each other, so
Okay.
they're easily
Portable?
portable. And they have lovely, intricate lattice work along the sides. It's a good thing she's not there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Oh,
no.
And there's a low table that runs sort of in the center. It's like a sort of a coffee table situation on a couple logs. And she's like, it's nothing like the one in Paris, but it is mine, and that is what makes it unique. I believe what you were interested in was some of the more for the Padres documentation of the area. Hold on. And she does the little raccoon situation and sort of tuts and sort of like goes over it like she doesn't have them all memorized. She's
Yeah.
like, see here, and sort of delicately sort of pulls a couple of them out, and she's like, please make yourselves at home. Tea?
That would be lovely.
And feels like, Ms. Dumont, would you like a hand with that? And she's like, oh, he is a deer? Where did you find him? I could just eat him up. And she like almost
Fan.
yeah.
We don't do that.
You can
Ever.
tell she's showing a lot of restraint by not actually pinching his cheeks. But it's
Hannah eyebrow arches and then she just looks at Theo.
and
That's
it's
right.
that same face he had earlier.
Okay,
Where
that
it's like,
works for
okay.
Wow.
Could be worse. Okay. Yeah, he's not into it.
Okay.
But it's cute.
Okay.
It's alright.
Hannah gives like the slightest smile. Like as much as a smile as that you're gonna get from her. She's just sort of like
And she sees that you guys are sort of like, and so she gives this cackle. She's like,
oh gosh.
and she's like, come Terensky, we will put you to work. And he's like, and they move off into that first area and you hear some of that familiar clanking and clattering and you hear and so the books are there.
So the books that she indicated towards me, are they in English or in Spanish?
2 are in Spanish and 1 is in English. One actually looks like just like a sheaf of papers held together by a leather bound, and they actually look like field notes, but have been copied in a very flowy script.
Is it the English or the Spanish?
This is in the English.
All right.
And it very plainly, the first page says, copy of notes of Carson Expedition, 1840, or copied 1840 by the hand of such and such such. And you're like, cool. These are the notes from the Army expedition that came through, or at least the Explorer, I forget if it was Army or not. And the ones in Spanish seem to be about general observations from the missions along the coast.
Okay. Is it only?
Which is good.
Is there anything occult like?
Nothing there. Do you want to scan the books?
Yeah.
All right. Make me a perception plus occult or academics. Meanwhile, you hear, Mrs. Sterling, do you take anything in the team, or should I just bring the service, or what? You know, but I'm sorry. I only have black. It's local source. I haven't really named it. Will that be sufficient?
Quite lovely. I don't really take anything in my tea.
I'm gonna do perception plus academics.
Alright.
What's my difficulty?
Difficulty 7.
Beat our current
1,
record of
2, 3, 4,
tea services in the game.
Right.
5.
2 in this one.
5.
Was
In
it
that
the
one
third
game where we're roughing another
No, this is
There?
the third.
Oh, this is the third, yeah.
You find a book on Kabbalah.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten more.
You find,
At this point, yeah.
and it looks well worn, like it's been gone through a few times. And you notice sort of in that shelf,
Yeah.
there appears to be
I
a
just chopped
couple
wood.
empty spots, like,
Yep.
like there's that telltale sign of a book rested on another
Yeah.
book where there was
Mhm.
something else.
Okay.
There is also a copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales. I want to say that is,
I feel like Alan would have read that one.
yeah, I feel like that was a thing already, so I think that one's appropriate. And it's sort of it's on the same shelf actually as the Kabbalah book, and another one that has collected folk tales of the Gallic region. Gaelic,
Oh.
but
Mhm.
not Gaelic, but Gallic.
Uh-huh.
Because France used to be called Gaul.
Yeah.
Yes, it was originally published in 1812. So.
Yeah.
Grimm's Fairy Tales, the collected version.
So yeah, so there's some stuff there. And do you pluck them out, or do you let them sit there just noting that they're there?
I'm going to let them sit there until she. Well, I'm going to mention it when she returns. I'm not going to name them.
There's a Theo. Can I call you Theo? Yes, Miss Dumont, absolutely. And she's like, would you be a dear and reach up there and pluck that from that shelf there? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, of course, Miss Dumont, sure. And she's like, you are so handy. Well, if I could have a couple hands around here, oh my goodness, I get so much done. All right. Pick that up, pick that tray up there, and I'll carry this one in. Come.
You know, I was not aware that we were in cougar country.
Yes, we are.
These mountain lions out here.
Get the claws.
Watch out, them mountain boys.
Because we want a cookie, not just any cookie.
Down the brow.
A cougar mountain cookie.
So
there are plenty of mountain lions
he's-
out here. So.
that's a running joke because we actually
That
Costco sells
big-ass
these like
fucking-
chocolate chip cookies and they're called Cougar Mountain cookies.
So good.
No.
They're very
It's got
tasty.
this like Paul Bunyan looking dude on there, and I'm like, made by the hands of their boy toys. Using their actual recipes.
I'll bring one next week if we get a replenishment and to get what we're talking about.
So good.
I want to eat some cougar mountain cookies.
Oh, you won't be here next week, okay.
Then we'll have them without you.
So her and Theo come back in with actually quite a nice service. You would be like, you're like, why'd you get this fucking service? This is nice. This is good. Look at this fucking,
Once
look at
again,
this,
good thing Bill's not
the
here.
sugar pot. Oh my god.
Right.
There's
Food
matches.
is good.
In it.
Yeah, you're like, oh bitch. And she's like,
Are these little naked men? As most French China during that time was.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's like,
lots of cherubs.
yeah, she's like, they're whatever
Little
you want them to
butts.
be. Dude.
Yep. That's right.
All the little butts.
Little plum butts.
So
She's like,
Yep.
you know,
Much
if
butter.
you settle for a while,
Sorry.
you can start a book club.
Oh, what a frightening idea.
I-
Titter.
Abby, it's certainly a thought.
She's gonna get stuck in permanent tornado.
I would definitely like to borrow, if I may, these 3 pieces, which are the 2 Spanish, the 1 English. I was taking a glance, and I noticed that you had some fairy tales and this book on a religion that I'm not very familiar with.
She sort of gets like a toothy grin. She's like, I do have a variety of interests, and she sort of like Vanna White's that particular bookshelf.
So while she's busy doing her like, oh, look at these things I have,
Mhm.
Philippa just gently tips her cup over
Oh, okay.
And it feels terrible.
Yeah.
It's good tea.
Yeah, no,
But just-
it's got that aroma.
What? Like what are the random
It's-
plants?
Yeah.
there's some spots in the
Yeah.
in the carpet that you can find that you're like, whoop, and it's
In
you
between
know,
the
Yeah,
cushions.
yeah, I just, that was so lovely. Thank you.
And yeah, she found a Whitesville. She's like, oh, and she's like, yes, Kabbalah is actually a root of Hebrew, which you know, Judaism. You know, it's not just the Torah. There's some other. That's fascinating. In France, we knew a couple families who were Jewish as well, and so we grew up together with some of the children, and it's interesting, and blah, blah, blah. And she sort of prattles a bit about this upbringing. Wits plus academics for both of you. Difficulty 8.
Nothing.
You're really
Like
sad
a
about that
boss.
tea.
Yeah, I am.
You're
It smelled
stealthily
so
getting
good.
rid of it.
Yeah.
2.
She talks about it like it happened a long time ago. You're like, maybe she's older than she lets on? It's odd, like, just one or two, like, she uses a term for a shirt that's a bit archaic. But she's like, maybe that's just the French to English translation?
She must be from Quebec.
That's right.
Maybe?
Mon gilet.
Yeah.
What?
They use that old
What
French.
Nice.
And she's like, as the local library, I suppose I would absolutely allow up to 5 books out at a time for as long as you're in town. So yes,
Lovely to have your library.
Yes. I would very much appreciate that.
I'm really picturing you guys just having a conversation with Yzma at this point because
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's like, especially since you have this strapping, strong young man to carry them out for you. Yeah. And Theo's like, huh?
you guys remember that lady? She was
That's great.
terrifying beyond all reason. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I look
You know,
at, I
she's-
sort of like sharply look at Pippa, like.
You're that lady.
Hit words with
Ancient
another
being.
blood point.
I imagine her more like that one episode of the X-Files where the guy was breeding people with animals, and there's the one lady who's like the chicken lady,
Oh, so you-
and everyone's
yeah.
just like,
What are we checking? This is
I turn on my aspects.
We're just checking her out.
Right.
Oh, there it is.
I burnt another blood point.
Had I gave Pippa the signal, like,
All right.
bitch,
Here we
do
go.
your sight.
Use your eyes, your
That
special
lady-
eyes.
Right.
Your special eyes.
So Miss Dumont is
It's
It's
for
it
like
was
100 contacts or whatever.
it was a 1-800 contacts commercial from
Oh.
back in like 1998.
Oh.
Constantly quoting this shit.
Violet, Rose,
Sorry. hold on.
Vermilion.
Oh my! Oh my!
Nice jazz hands.
That is.
Vermilion.
And see.
I don't know what's happening.
What I'm gonna do my
Use
niece
colors, please.
Gold.
That's a lot of colors.
Mate kudasai.
Sharp, slow down.
I'm sorry, so I got rose.
Rose, vermilion,
Violet.
violet.
Okay, yeah, this all tracks.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, now
You
you're
said
giving me
gold?
Joseph flashbacks.
Okay. Not scary gold.
Sharp, flickering. No, it's not. You can.
This
you
is
could
not a
tell,
true believer.
You could tell. You could look dead at it, and it wouldn't be blind. You wouldn't be blinded. But yeah, it's just it's
PTSD on the golds.
it's the each of these colors sort of shifts in, and they're all very
Yes, they're all lovely.
bright and vibrant and sort of flickery, sharp, and
Yeah.
like she's awash with just she's truly thrilled to have guests, and it's just sort of you're like I think the book club is the idealistic, and so you're just like, you get a sense that she's definitely at least touched by some sort of supernatural.
Yeah.
Maybe fae, maybe shapeshifter back in the bloodline.
Yeah.
But
it's nothing direct.
you get at worst you get sort of a clingy feeling, but that
She's lonely.
you didn't turn on the aura for that. There's a bit of familiarity to it though, that you're like, you've seen something similar recently, but you're not 100% sure.
Is it the horse?
There's no beige.
Okay.
It ain't the horse.
What else am I looking at? Is this the third time I've turned on my own
That's
specs?
fucking.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
just what I know. Yeah.
I looked at the horse.
You looked at the Mormons.
Well, they weren't more.
No, here.
Oh, here.
Yeah, those people that you met.
Sorry, in recent memory, the last.
Yeah.
You
couple
looked at the
months.
horse. You looked at the McDaniels.
You would say.
And you looked at-
You would say since the Mormons, but also before the Mormons,
Okay.
that there's something that you're like, I've encountered whatever this is before.
Okay.
Well,
It just might not be in the same degree. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Alright.
No, it's none of it's. It ain't no ghost.
No.
There's nothing modeled
Thanks.
or depressed about it. It's all very. It's living life, whatever it is.
What the heck kind of weird hybrids are you putting in this game, Tony?
Unless it's something weird. We've already met like 3 regular people. There can be more. Everything else is something else. I'm expecting a mummy's gonna come out of the lake.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I'm
Well,
excited.
Tessie's got to be something. So yeah, it's just
I fluttered away. You know?
little T and
Yeah.
she there's a slightly beat too long awkward toothy grin as she sort of adjusts the spectacles, and like right after you sort of blink away,
Mhm.
and she's like, would you perhaps like to check any out?
Oh, that's very kind of you. I have a small collection myself. Actually.
Ooh.
I do.
Yeah, she's
I'm aware.
she's
I know
like,
what's happening.
I do love collections. I mean, obviously. If perhaps some point I might visit and peruse yours, that would be delightful.
I'll have to see if Jean-Pierre can unpack it. Unfortunately, I do believe it's fallen to the bottom.
She's like, oh, that is a challenge. I have a few things in back myself that are packed away. Understandable. No, absolutely.
Is it the
All the young
forbidden
men.
section?
Yeah.
Or the forbidden?
Ooh, if it's a bunch of young men, though,
Maybe a
Eliza wants
combination
some of
of
that.
both.
That's right.
That's where she keeps her books on sex magic.
Right? All my dark rituals are back there. Let me get into my outfit.
But yeah, you
Ew,
happen
is she
to
a maid?
to unpack them. I do believe that
Oh.
my collection
robe
is
and wizard hat.
more
Maid, not
Yeah.
that maid.
Robe and wizard hat.
morose.
And she's like,
I do have a fondness for poetry and such darker stories.
like as you say it, her gaze drifts to a couple books on a lower left shelf that have a few French poets who you're just like,
I mean,
Oh,
it
that
can
shit-
make them depressing as
yeah, I'm
fuck
like that
shit.
shit's she's
That's-
like
that's-
Some bold
she
That's
she,
grade
she,
A.
she sort of wiggles the fingers in reference to them. She's like, any of these. And actually, you have one of the same collections.
That's the Hatsword casting spells.
And-
Watch out.
And do you acknowledge that? Yes, you do in fact have. And she's like, and the fingers to the delicatage. They remind me of winter and on the coast. Do you remember the gray?
Oh, I miss the gray.
Ah, the gray. You don't get any gray up here. It's all blue and green, and it's lovely.
Pronoun.
But you do miss the gray on occasion.
Good time.
And her eyes sort of drift up to some of the little strands dangling from the running rope.
Yeah.
And she's like,
So sad.
these remind me of the gray though, so that helps. So,
That's even up there. Wow.
just, dust, some spider webs.
Yeah.
You know, it's
The dust reminds her of gray.
it's what have you. She's like,
No idea what this
Well,
is.
you are of course welcome to stay as long as you like this evening, but I do think it's getting on.
I do think we're expecting a guest tonight. I must
Oh,
actually has a watch.
Right.
oh, when you are
He took it like
she's like,
my
"Am I
wrist
entertaining
pile."
already? I'm so glad.
Oh wait, we're inside.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
No, she would have a pocket watch.
Yeah, Bill
yes.
has a pocket watch.
She very much would have a pocket watch.
No one straps so
She's like,
Bill
I've been
has
down
a very
in
nice
Myers for the last
That's right.
year or two, and it's quaint. But when I heard there was the gathering
She
up here,
stared
I
at it
thought,
for like 10
some
minutes.
new blood, you know, it'd be good to get
I
out.
should steal this.
You
Did
know,
she
we're
use the
so
phrase
close.
new
Sat
blood?
there looking
Okay.
at it
It's like we're so close to
forever.
this bounty. I don't think I'll be going back to Myers.
It's quite
Yeah.
lovely up here, actually. I've been rather surprised.
Yes, it's you can really lay down roots here, so to speak. I think it'll be a bustling way station once people get tired of going north or south of here.
Yes, well, I do wish you all the luck.
Oh, thank you, and please feel free to come by during the day at some point. You know, I know it does get late, and you're hosting into the evening, so you know that sort of thing.
Oh, yes. Well, if I can squeeze it into my schedule, you know.
Do not
And of
trust
course,
that
you
lady
know,
right
let
now.
me know as soon
Yeah,
as
please.
possible if you guys are leaving, and then you know you can check them back in.
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
I feel attacked.
It's a personal statement.
But yeah, and so there's gracious thanking and fretting, self-control again.
You need to get out of here.
As it's you were such a gracious host, no, you were such a gracious guest, and
She was lovely, blah, blah, blah.
it was
6.
kind of lovely. It was I'll put out 6. So.
A 0. I rolled a 7, but I also had a 1.
Yeah, you
I'm just gonna.
You get caught in a loop.
The fingers and the hand clasp are so they take you straight back to England, and you're in a gray fog at the edge of a field, coming out of someone's house, and you've just had a lovely dinner party, and you're gonna go home, and it's just it all comes back. Ms. Allen, you see her get lost suddenly.
Philippa's somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Right.
And you see
Ah, shit.
Colette. She's holding the hand and she's like, and she's like, Mrs. Sterling? And Theo's like, do you care to?
I banged into this table.
Those
Oh,
golden
my
hazel
knee.
eyes just out in the distance.
Oh dear.
Hannah takes her tea and
Oh, we're past tea. We're at the leaving part.
oh, we're at the leaving part.
Yeah.
Okay. Ah, damn it, I was hoping.
She knocks over the teapot.
Yeah, I was hoping she could knock over like the teapot somehow or something.
If you also have like a scramble moment, Theo's like, oh no, Mrs. Sterling, and like braces for you, like and sort of like tries to wave, and like you can
She's
see him
on
actually sort of
papers.
pushing
Yeah,
her to try and get like a little bit of a feint.
yeah. Is it working?
No, she's pretty solid.
While that commotion's going on behind me, Hannah, like how far away is the like something for me to knock over?
There's the wash basin actually right next to
Oh!
next to the, so if you kick that sucker into the like mud area, that'll be enough of a
Oh,
no.
Yes,
So, yeah.
I was about to say.
Oh,
She's
these
like,
terrible bustles.
Yeah.
yes, pretty much. Like Hannah, like
She just
is like,
swing that bad boy out there.
Yeah.
And snap right
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Okay.
I am so
And she's
sorry.
Like, and she's like, oh, no, that's fine.
I am
That's fine.
so sorry.
Because I'm doing my best
She's
in
like,
person.
right.
Yeah, she's
just
just so long as
sees the
Mrs.
cause
Sterling is okay. Are
Mrs.
you
Sterling,
alright?
I am fine.
We were once
Pippa.
washed out of a home. It was terrible. There was flooding. It
Oh,
was dreadful.
that sounds absolutely dreadful.
No, that's okay. Little water never.
Does
That's fine.
Pippa finally break her?
Make another self-control roll. Difficulty 6.
Okay, 2 this time.
All right. It all comes into stark reality that Theo has placed his hands on you without your needing or consent.
and just that hand that swings out and throws it.
Miss Allen has knocked something over with her ass. There is being a threat made. You are sharp back into it.
Mrs. Sterling, I think it's time for us to go. You have guests arriving.
Oh, Timmy, I must have gone somewhere else for a moment. This has been so lovely.
Yes, it has been absolutely lovely. What are we going into?
She steps down into the mud area and puts herself against the edge of the tent and does the curl again thing that she's like, not to worry, more excitement than I've had in quite some time.
Yes. Theo, get up.
Feels like, yes, Miss Allen, yes. And out you go in a tizzy.
Hannah just looks at you without sharp eyes.
I can't help it. I've done so well.
Stop meeting such nice people.
Everyone here's so nice. It's been all I can do not to stop. Oh dear. How long was I out?
Oh, just a few moments, but long enough for her to start wondering what was going on.
Oh dear.
Cool. So,
I miss rosemary and potatoes.
If you could watch Theo eat some, I'd love some.
so yeah. I feel like that's a good place to pause for now.
Thank
Oh,
you.
dear.
It's getting on. But it's good because now we have
Now we have the Daniel feeling.
to
Oh my God.
We're doing a tree
I unwrapped.
survey.
Did we make
My
the water
starter.
first? And as soon as I
Well,
looked
we're not
at
making
that
it
sound
yet,
happened,
because
oh,
Amy's
did I
not
drop
sure
it?
how long
No.
we're gonna be there. Right now we're doing a tree survey.
Abe
So,
and Frankie bonded over wood.
So you're
So
getting ready to find.
unusual.
That's fine. Well, actually, go ahead and
You
give
have
us
your pipe,
5.
because it's Frankie.
Oh, yeah, what are we getting?
Bill gets a good 3 for being a killer wingman,
Even though it didn't work.
even though it didn't work. Miss Allen will go with a 2 for continuing to forward the agenda. Pip will get a 2 for meeting all the right people. Frankie, Elizabeth, Eliza,
The squad.
Stella,
Yeah.
Tasha?
Tasha gets a 2 for staying absolutely in character, and Abe also will get a solid 2 for helping babysit Stella, Tasha, Elizabeth.
Solid tree survey.
Yeah. She's got an AD&D like 4 class progression. We're gonna split the XP between our 4.
So it sounds
I
like
was
we're
like,
gonna.
did Frederick get points?
Frederick and I have an understanding with his,
Oh,
with
I
his,
see.
with his new situation.
What?
Because he's controlling
Yeah,
the
because
controlling
NPCs.
Few different things.
Well, but also he's getting dots for his
his connection
adaptations.
with
Yeah.
So it's kind of eating into his XP. So we're actually working things out off game to make
paying
it
off
all,
his
make it all work
XP.
out.
No, that's totally fair.
I was about to say, are you giving Tony burritos as well?
Are you changing characters? Like, what the heck?
That's the best euphemism I've heard. Yes.
Wow, yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, not next week because our flight is like home early in the morning on Monday, so.
Okay.
I mean, he's working anyway, so it would be 7C, but I'm probably just not gonna. 'Cause I gotta.
So yeah, so we're gonna skip 7C.
And then the week, obviously, the next time we would have this game, we're going to be in Florida.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
so we're gonna be out for 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, it's good to know.
We can maybe try and arrange a board game situation in between.
Oh, that's our heading to this off.
We have
I have new games that I can totally be like,
They've never been played.
which one?
So
Mm-hmm.
We still
Down
haven't
here.
played your
Stop
stuff, the one with all the stained glass.
oh yeah, that's right.
Grotto, yeah.
I saw that the other day in the store and I was like,
Actually, what I
actually,
want to do. It's such a pretty game.
I really liked it.
We did finally play. You were there, right? Like,
All right.
We played.
Dragonfly.
Say goodnight, Internet.
Good
night,
Internet.
Oh, you weren't there for that.
yeah, that was.
Oh, that-
Does anybody want anything from